Excuse me. Good evening. I am Keys, the K in BAK, and this is the BAK Talk Bros channel. And tonight, there will be three of us at some point, and we're going to go ahead and we will review the Chiefs' loss to the Packers. We will preview the Chiefs' game against the Bills. We will hit the chat questions and comments and topics, and we will talk about more in tonight's episode of BAK Talk. And so, with all that said, now that I've given my introduction here, we're going to go ahead and hit the intro video.
Y'all ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
Like I said, I am Keys, the K in BAK Talk Bros. And before we get into our Week 13 review and preview Week 14 with the B and the A, that's Brian and Aaron of the BAK Talk Bros. We're going to hit a little bit of by the numbers. And I think part of that tonight is we're just going to open up a website. We're going to look at some Chiefs offensive stats here, and we're just going to take a dive into some offensive stats here from NFL.com, and we'll see exactly where the Chiefs stand this year on offense, because let's face it, we're all making a big deal about the offense. So if we're going to do that, we might as well go ahead and really take a look at how the offense is faring. Maybe there will be some things on here that surprise you, some things that confuse you. I don't know, but we're going to take a look at the numbers for the offense here. So the first thing we're looking at here is the number of completions for the Chiefs. Here, let me get this sorted right. The Chiefs are third in the NFL in pass completions, behind the Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings. They are second in attempts, and thus, when we look at completion percentage, we're about 10th in the NFL right now at 67.6%, with the Cowboys leading the NFL at 70.3. Yards per attempt, once again, we're about 12th or 13th or so at 7 yards per attempt, with the 49ers at 9.5 yards per attempt, leading the way in the NFL. Then we come over to passing yards, and the Chiefs are 9th overall again, by about 408 yards behind the Texans. And I mean, to be fair, for some of this, right, Texans, Commanders, a few of these teams have been behind in games to where they're passing a lot. So, just to be a little fair in here, obviously the Dolphins are the Dolphins. They also have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. If you look at these stats here, like if you compare it against the Lions with their offense, they have Amon-Ra and some other guys there. So if you start looking at these, even like the 49ers, of course, they run more. But when you look at these, the numbers aren't too bad, considering all the struggles. Passing touchdowns here, the Chiefs are sixth in the NFL in passing touchdowns with 22, a whole 4 touchdowns behind the league leader, Dallas Cowboys, who have 26. Uh, Interceptions, that's a different story, right? The Texans and the Ravens lead the NFL with the least amount of interceptions as a team with 5. The Chiefs are at the very bottom of this list, at like 27th, right? Tied for 27th or 26th, however you want to look at it, with the Bears with 12 interceptions. And then when we look at the QB right here, again, it's somewhere around 12th or 13th, like 13th behind the Eagles at 92.8. So there's definitely some things to improve upon. Explosive plays here. We have 35. The league leader has 59. 40 plus yard plays. We have 4, right? Dead last is the Patriots with 2. So we're definitely not in great company as far as that goes. And our longest play is 54 yards. The Lions, surprisingly, are at 48 yards as the shortest of the longest plays in the NFL, tied with none other than the Panthers. And so, there's definitely some need for improvement there as far as the passing game goes. At the end of the day, though, the offensive numbers aren't as bad as maybe we would think that they are. It really comes down to the scoring, right? That's the biggest thing is we need to stop kicking field goals and we need to start scoring touchdowns. And if we do that, we're probably going to win the games that we're losing for the most part on here. And Gooch just joined us. Gooch, the B in Back Talk Bros. Gooch, I hope you like my festive video background that I chose for week 14 as we set to play the Bills this week. How's it going, brother?
It's going. How are you? And I love the background.
Yeah, I just figured let's keep it there and hope I don't get a copyright strike, which I shouldn't, because it's not like we're just listening to something like NFL only, and we're in front of it, so you can't even see the play, but you can see enough. You guys know what's going on here. This is 13 seconds, so I don't know, man. Should we just keep this playing the whole video?
Wouldn't hurt my feelings none.
All right. Well, you heard it from Gooch. We're just going to keep it playing the whole video here. So yeah. I was hoping we could get Aaron in here before we got started on this, but let me go a different direction here, Gooch, really quick. I'm sure you heard the Packers defensive back that picked off Patrick Mahomes talk about how he had watched video earlier in the week and saw Patrick pat his leg or something like that, right? And claimed that he knew what was coming, and that's how he was able to pick it off. Did you see that clip at all, Gooch? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I saw it.
So I don't know if you saw this as well, but Patrick came out and essentially said that's a lie. He said that that's the first time he's made that particular check in his whole time with the Chiefs. So how are we feeling about this, Gooch? Like I know I have my thoughts. I'm interested in what your thoughts are.
Well, that's a really good question. And when I saw it in the midst of my duties today, I went and I looked at every game I could possibly look at for the past couple seasons. And Patrick's right. He never touches his knee or anything like that.
Uh-oh.
He never touches his knee for a check down like that in most of the games that I saw that I was able to kind of go back and look at. I think what it is the guy got lucky. I think Sky overthought and slowed his route to maybe cut it in and go up. And Patrick was trying to throw to a spot because he knew they were coming. So Patrick had read it and was going to throw it and give Sky basically the best chance to get the ball at the first down marker. And Sky slowed up. And the guy was overplaying his hand, and he just happened to be there for the ball. He didn't watch a mannerisms video on Patrick Mahomes and be like, oh, that's what that check is. Because it's the same guy that I think he got on another check, he got picked off on a rub route or something, and he didn't. If he knew it was coming, he should have overplayed it. That guy was getting burned all night. I'm not going to believe that he just all of a sudden outthought. Oh, I'm ready for that. This isn't. I mean, I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's great. I don't know who his defensive coordinator is, but this isn't Bill Belichick and the Patriots picking off Russell Wilson in the end zone because he always ran that route. Or they always ran that play, and Bill Belichick had them practice it over and over and over again throughout the season. This isn't that. He just got lucky.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it could be. I honestly don't know, but I'll say this, and I tweeted out earlier. Like, to me, there's 3 or 4 options for this, right? Either Nixon is telling the truth and Patrick lied. Nixon thought he was telling the truth and got extremely lucky and somehow ended up knowing exactly where to go on this play from the snap. The third possibility is Nixon lied, but somehow ended up knowing exactly where to go at the snap. And the fourth one, I'm not sure what it is. So, I'm an Occam's razor type of guy here. Like, I have no reason to think either of them lied. But at the same time, when someone from the snap goes vertical as a defensive back, that tells me he knew something. But then, like, why lie about it? I guess that would be my question. Like, if you picked up on something in the game or you learned, okay, they're probably going to try to pick me off here. Why lie about it at the end of the game? Like, what's the point of that? I don't know. I'm a little confused by the whole thing, but what we do know from what Patrick said, right, is he did make a particular check. Like, he said that's the first time he's made this check in his time with the Chiefs. And so, one, we know he made a check. Like, he admitted that he made a check. And two, the way this is worded, at least from Harold Kuntz here, implies that he made this check before in this way while in college. I'm not sure. It says, in his time with the Chiefs, which kind of implies that he's made this check before he was in the NFL. Maybe that's reading too much into it, and it's just, the wording from Harold Kuntz isn't really as exacting as it should be. But, like, for me, the guy, like, from the snap, he knew where to go. Regardless,
I don't think he did. I think he was supposed to play outside technique to to keep Sky inside. And when he was out of position, he just started running for the border. And when Sky saw that, he slowed up. And so when Sky slowed up, Mahomes was still trying to throw it to the spot, and the guy was there because he still had to make a really good play on the ball. And if Sky had went to the border like he was supposed to at a full sprint and ran up, we're not having this conversation.
Well, let's hold on here because
yes, he ran vertical, but as he took his 2 steps vertical, he started rounding towards the border. Like he wasn't like going vertical like he knew where it was. He was out of position, and so he started rounding his coverage so he could get on the sideline. That's what it looked like to me. Not that I know this is coming. He's out of position. And if Sky had ran, Sky's catching that and first down, and we're not talking.
So I guess the first thing I would say is hold up on Sky not running it properly, because Sky actually did run this one properly for once. Like he ran this the way he should have ran it based on how the DB played it. Like if you want to argue that, he should have made more of an effort to break that up, you can do that, and others have already broken this play down probably ad nauseum right now. But Sky actually ran that route how he should have based on what he saw the DB do, which is what we've been complaining about for 12 games now. Like, we have been complaining about our wide receivers not adjusting their routes based off of how the DB's playing them. Like, the moment the DB Nixon played him that way, he shouldn't have stayed vertical. And he didn't. And he kind of slowed down. And it's not just my interpretation, but he slowed down so he wouldn't run into the DB. Because if he hadn't slowed down, he would have ran into the DB, and we would be complaining about him for one more week, just like we've complained about him every other week, and we complain about MVS every other week. So, part of this is, and I get every side of it because I've seen everybody talk about it. Like there's multiple layers to it. Someone said, well, when the wide receivers have ran it wrong every other week, why would Patrick throw it to the right location? Why would he expect his receiver to make the correct read? Well, like we can all argue about this however we want to, but Patrick shouldn't have made the throw that he made. That much is clear. He's admitted it, and I know you'll say, yeah, he's always going to, say that and take the responsibility off of his wide receivers, which is true. He does that. But in this case, and it's not the first time we've talked about this before on this show, he made a throw based on his anticipation of what the defense was going to do, not what they actually did. And whether that's the wide receiver, like the culmination of our wide receiver issues or not, it's kind of becoming a new problem, just like Happy Feet Patrick was back, after Super Bowl 55 when we didn't have an offensive line. So to me, that's kind of getting concerning because it's not the first time we've seen Patrick stick with what he thinks the defense is going to do pre-snap and completely be wrong and either make a wrong pass or miss somebody who's completely open because he thought the defense was going to do one thing and he didn't actually watch the defense to make sure they did that thing. So
now, I don't know if you can lay this on Patrick's feet and say he did the wrong thing because he made the check because they were going to bring pressure, which they did. And when you're bringing pressure, the ball has to go to a spot because it has to get out fast. And it needs to be behind the sticks in order to get the first down. And the reality is if Sky doesn't slow up, regardless of whether he made the right read based on what the defense was going to do, if he doesn't slow up, there's a chance he catches it or at least breaks it up. Like the check was made because Patrick knew he was going to have to get the ball out of his hands fast because he knew they were bringing pressure, which they did.
they actually only brought 4 on this play, but
but with our offensive line, that was pressure. Did you watch the rest of the game? Like they couldn't stop those 2 tackles. Couldn't stop They couldn't stop a nosebleed. All that money for Juwan Taylor, and as athletic as he is, he's struggling. And Donovan Smith has turned into a fast-footed Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that well, we know it because he's on the injury report this week that Donovan Smith has been playing injured. At the very least, he hasn't been doing as bad as Orlando exactly, and he's been doing as bad as he has comparatively at a fraction of the price. So at least
That's true.
there's that. So
That's true. I mean, he's not costing as much as Orlando's costing the Bengals for subpart for Kansas City Chiefs. Like I thought he was supposed to be better because he finally was going to be with a quarterback that can get rid of the ball fast, and Joe Burrow doesn't dance around in the pocket, and yada yada yada. And he's been. I'm sure they're looking at their paychecks, going, "We shouldn't have spent that money," or their balance sheet, I guess I should say.
well, I'm happy about it. Let's see if I can put this up here. Take a look at this really quick. Hopefully we can get Aaron in here. If not, we'll just go ahead and start hitting our topics for the week. Try to do this in slow motion here. This is the play. So immediately Nixon is backing up. He's running vertical. He's running vertical. He's running vertical the whole way, Gooch. Like, he runs this route like it was made for him. Maybe we can trade for him and put him on offense. So again, like
if Sky was playing the man, he cuts it out before then instead of that. If you really want to use, Sky ran the perfect route. He was based off what the defense was giving him. With that guy running at an angle, not vertical, he's running an angle towards the border. Sky could have turned it out right there. And he doesn't if he's doing it based on what the defense is giving him. And he's really reading the defensive back anywhere between the 48 and 42. He could have turned it out and got a first down. And that DB or that whoever that is running at an angle just because he's trying to get into position. See him? Like, he's not running vertical like he knows the route. He's just trying to get out there. He doesn't want to get burned. And if Sky has the Jets on, he just might. But it's all an interpretation. Like, I'm not really trying to argue this because you see it one way and I see it another. And that's what the game is about. Everybody has different opinions on what it is. And,
yeah, this particular insight came from somebody who wrote a book on the Chiefs offense and was on Kansas City Stars show breaking down this play. That is what it is. How do I get this off of here? There we go. I'm not going to harp on it. It is what it is. In the building, they know what the issue was. They know what needs to be fixed. That's the most important thing, that they not only know that, but they actually do it. And that's not the only thing. Yeah.
You know what needs to be fixed? They need to be targeting Rice more. I know he's a rookie, and maybe he doesn't have the whole playbook down, but he's got some of it down. And when he's on the move, he's mostly reliable, which takes a lot of the pressure off of Kelsey. Like, he's filling the Juju role without getting as many attempts as Juju. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's being successful. He is. But I think if they targeted him more in that role, like we would be a lot better. I mean, this is the first game. I mean, after he had his big game, like this is the first game that really Marquez was kind of open a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Because now they're looking at Rice, and Kelsey had a little free time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't do nothing but help. I don't know. You know, I was in the process of writing some stuff down for a show that I was going to do, and I was going to get recorded. I'm probably going to get finished tomorrow night. And I really am going to come back to, I think the problem with that nobody's talking about. I think the problem with this offense is there's no Eric Bieniemy. Now, hear me out. I don't mean as the offensive coordinator. I just mean as the guy who's holding people accountable and making them run it perfectly and over and over and over again and pushing them to be their best and stuff like that. I think Andy and Matt Nagy are too much of the same players coach without the repercussions. Like you need the opposite side of the coin in the building. You know what I'm saying? You've already got Andy, who's like the grandpa, and nobody wants to disappoint him, and he pats everybody on the head. We got things to work on. You need that other person to be like, you need to work on it. Boom, 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 boom. You're doing this wrong. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, 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 blah. Run it until we get it right. And that's what Bieniemy was in all the Chiefs camps. They ran the same play over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think that's what's missing.
Yeah, that could be. I'm going to play Gooch's advocate, though, or Liz's advocate, depending on how you want to phrase it. For those of you at home, that's devil's advocate. Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Kansas City Chiefs history. He's had Eric Bieniemy on staff. He had him on staff, 3 years, 4 years? So 2 or 3 as offensive coordinator, and he was still winning. So, I'm not discounting what you're saying, but it also seems like there's a clear path to victory without Eric Bieniemy here, to where that just seems like too simplistic of an answer. Maybe if we expand that, it's that, somehow Andy's always had somebody like that on his staff. That could be the case. I do think we need someone like that at the wide receiver coach position. I'm 100% on board with that. But, even when EB was here the last few years, we still had a lot of similar issues as far as penalties, sloppiness. I know we've talked about stuff before for the last 2 or 3 years. It's like we're busy creating plays like corn dog. We're busy letting Patrick and Travis come up with plays. This was last year. This was 2 years ago. Instead of refining the plays that are already in the playbook. Like we've talked about this for multiple years now. It's just like, it's the same thing as like every game though, right? Like last year, you and I would be critical of things that we needed to be critical about, and everyone else would be like, come on guys, we won the game. You should be, snorting uppers and just be super excited and stop talking about all the negative stuff. But we didn't. We pointed out the stuff that needed to get pointed out, because the reality is like the moment we won a game, everyone forgot all the issues they were complaining about throughout the game. And it seems like that's now what has happened on a multiple season type of trajectory. Like everybody has amnesia now to all the issues we had last year, but we were getting away with them. all the issues we had 2 years ago, all the issues we had 3 years ago. And it's just like many of these issues have been issues like the wide receiver issue has been an Andy Reid issue basically his entire head coaching career. So, it's kind of like the running the ball has been an Andy Reid head coaching issue his entire career. Um, you know, so yeah, I'm 100% with you that we need someone to be holding guys accountable because that seems to be maybe one of Andy's shortcomings. I just don't know, like if Evie was doing that, like it still wasn't necessarily enough because we were still having issues, I guess is what I would say here. But you brought up MVS, so I just wanted to throw this out here really quick here. And I'm not excusing MVS by any means, but I will say that every week when I watch the All 22, I see this almost every play. Almost every play. MVS, I'm going to stop and start this again. MVS is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, everybody. Go ahead and watch. It's almost every single play. Gooch, tell me how you run that route. Like, how do you score on that play?
I'm not looking at MVS. I'm looking at Rice, who's running across the middle open. Is that Rice? Right there, that's Rice. Like, that's where I'm throwing the ball. All those other guys, I don't trust MVS. All those other guys are, what the hell is, okay, this is the first time seeing that. What is MVS doing?
Well, right now he's being held by the defensive back. He's being held by the defensive back. He's being held by the defensive back. He's being held in the end zone by the defensive back.
Turn it out. Because that
turns out he's getting held again as he makes his break. But yeah, I mean, you can talk about Rice here, but I'm just pointing out, like, MVS gets held so often in a game and it doesn't get called that I've been saying this for 2 years for all of his shortcomings, right? And maybe I heard someone jokingly say, I think last night, that, maybe what the refs meant when they said that wasn't pass interference, that it wasn't a catchable ball, that maybe what they were talking about is that it was thrown to MVS. So by definition, it's not going to be caught anyway. But still, I mean, this is still a penalty. This should still be a penalty. I mean, he's hugging him all the way into the end zone. And you can find multiple plays a game like this, and a lot of those times it's not just MVS here, right? Up in the top corner here, that looks like Travis fighting through contact when he shouldn't be. We can't necessarily see what they're doing there, but that to me looks like a hand on Travis's jersey. If you squint really closely there, this is why I hate the white on whites, because Packers defenders are wearing white gloves here, so they can get away with it. But that is a hand on Travis's jersey in the end zone there, and he finally sheds it, as he makes his break to the corner. But yeah, I mean, you're right. You got what's Rice running here? It looks like a kind of a pivot, right? And because the pass rush,
he could have thrown it here, and Rice probably could have powered through. This was before. I mean, that was before the pressure got to him. But I think another thing with Mahomes is he's still, when he's down there, he's still looking for the shot. You know what I'm saying? The end zone shot. Because right now, he could have thrown it. It's okay. I mean, the teams are working. It's a work in progress. I hope they find it, though. Man, I'd hate to be 8-5 after the Bills game.
Yeah. Maui, we're glad that you're with us tonight here. And Chris, you as well. Maui says, spill the tea, big dog. Chris with Kansas City Area Youth Jazz Inc. Guys, make sure you check out their channel as well. what do you guys think about Tony's wide receiver 1, Rice wide receiver 2, and James wide receiver 3? I'm assuming we're also talking about with a lot of Travis and Noah Gray together. And I say yes, but I think it's clear, and I think what Gooch will say is Andy doesn't trust Tony to stay healthy, so they won't make him wide receiver 1. And if that's what you're going to say, Gooch, then what about Rice 1, James 2, and Watson 3, since clearly they trust Watson a lot and they use him a lot in 12 and 13 or 12 personnel looks? I don't want to put words in your mouth, though.
Are we talking about this season or are we talking about next season? Because you pretty much hit spot on what I was going to say. Like, but I don't even, if we're doing this season, I mean, Rice would have to be your de facto 1, even though I think his ceiling is a number 2. I would use Richie James a lot more because he's been hurt, so you don't know what you got. I would definitely start trying to throw him the ball.
He catches it.
Yeah, that's true. I like the Travis Noah Gray thing. I do. Like I like seeing that. I think that could work for us. I don't know if it's a trust thing on Patrick's end why he's not throwing the ball. I don't know if it's Andy and Matt calling plays that Rice is the decoy, and so he's not getting the looks because there are a lot of times that he's open. But they need to utilize that. But yeah, I would probably, if you want my honest opinion, I think you go Rice and James, Travis and Noah Gray, and then you sprinkle in like MVS and Watson and Sky and Tony. And Tony, he's Sammy Watkins. You know what I'm saying? Like he's electric when he's got the ball in his hands. The problem is he's not going to give you a full season. So you're in and out of the lineup, which is just throwing off the continuity of the offense. You know, and I know that Andy held him out because of the hip and everything like that, but this is football. Like if your coach is holding you out because he thinks if you take a hit on the hip, you're done, you either got to put on the NFL 20 or you know, I don't know, become a cornerback where you don't really have to tackle.
Marcus Peters. Yeah, you know, I hope that this isn't the case that Tony thought, you know, I came to Kansas City midseason. I had a pretty good, you know, time in Kansas City. I don't need to really work that hard in the weight room this offseason. I really hope that's not the case. Regardless, I really hope that this next offseason he does dedicate himself to really put in that work to keep himself healthy, because you know right now it's kind of like he has, I would say he has Tyreek light talent in with Sammy Watkins injury, and that's where you're going. I think with your Sammy Watkins comparison, like I think he moves more like Tyreek than Sammy, but when he gets hit on the football field, his body reacts more like Sammy.
And even Tyreek, I don't know if you. Tyreek came in like Tony, a little kind of skinny kid, you know what I'm saying? Not as big as he was, but Tyreek put on a lot of muscle. Like he put weight on and still kept his speed. I don't know what he did, but that guy's built like a tank and he's still as fast. And he's primarily healthy. He gets little tweaks and stuff, but Tyreek doesn't miss a lot of games. You know what I mean? Sure, because he can outrun everybody, but he also catches stuff over the middle. He takes hits when he has to. I just think Tony needs some more weight. Richie James is thicker than him. I don't know. Hammy Tony.
So Chris says EB needs a team in Washington. Hey Gooch, if EB doesn't get a head coaching job next year and somehow Ron Rivera doesn't get fired, well, I'll just say this because it really doesn't matter. I don't know how long his contract is in Washington, but if EB were to stay an offensive coordinator in the league longer, I've thrown out two head coaches that I think would be amazing to watch EB work with. And I want to know what your thoughts are. One is Mike Tomlin, and the other one is Mike Vrabel. Like I think those two guys in EB kind of have that same, a very similar mentality. Those two are obviously defensive coaches. And I think if you married either one of them, into a coaching staff with EB, it would be pretty amazing football to watch. What do you think?
If EB doesn't get a coaching job, I think those are the only two coaches. And I would love to see him with Tomlin. Can you imagine? Oh my goodness. That would be nasty from a coaching standpoint. Like, I was actually, while you were saying it, I was like, is there any other coaches that I could see him with? Maybe D'Amico Ryans?
It could be interesting to see what he could do in New England because Belichick already likes to run the ball, right?
Oh, yeah.
That could be an interesting pairing too.
The problem is Belichick doesn't like to hire coordinators. He just makes one the offensive guy and doesn't give him the coordinator title, which saves New England money because you don't have to pay him the coordinator money. You're just a coach.
So Maui says Mahomes will be elite again. Unfortunately, Spags will let you down. The other shoe has begun to fall, and the mediocre returns. We're going to get to the defensive performance at some point tonight. And when I make my argument about the defense, I do have a few clips from the game that I want to show. Chris agrees. MVS has held basically every offensive play. Yeah, Kelsey tight end 1 and Gray tight end 2. Yeah, I think you mix those guys in there. I'd like to see, the first couple of drives, I didn't see much 21 or 12 personnel or even 13 personnel. It was a lot of 11 personnel out there. And we haven't really seen that double motion that they pulled out in the Eagles game the first half. It kind of disappeared in the second half. And then we saw it a little bit last week. And I don't remember seeing it that much, if at all, in this week, which is a little weird. Maui says, my least favorite wide receivers are MVS and Watson. And this season, Gooch, Hammy, Tony. All right. Let's go ahead and jump in here, Gooch. And let's start out with our first part here as we do our offensive review of the Chiefs offense against the Packers defense. Gooch, what did you think went well? What worked? What player or players stood out to you in a positive way from the offense in this performance?
What stood out?
Positively.
Pacheco. Travis had a good game. He was getting free and finding soft spots in the zone and a play that standing out was MVS's sliding catch on his back. That was pretty good to get a first down.
He was actually open earlier in that play, and Patrick didn't throw it to him. I understand why, but he was open in that earlier in that play. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I think Pacheco is the big thing. I like when he runs and all that stuff, and he looks like he's getting better in pass protection and stuff like that. I just wish they would see that and continue to give him the ball. You know, that would Rice, Kelsey, Pacheco.
Yeah,
That should be your triplets. You know what I'm saying? Pacheco can run the ball. Like he's good. Yes, he has a couple of runs where he's not patient and he runs into the line and he only gets 2 yards, whatever. But he eventually breaks one or two for 10 plus every game. And the way the NFL is now, with leaning more towards passing, higher scoring, and stuff like that, a lot of these athletes, as great as they are, so please don't think I'm trashing them, but nobody wants to tackle a 5'10", 225-pound, 4.4 speed running back that doesn't avoid contact. He likes to initiate it. Nobody wants to hit that guy 25 times or more a game. So you start wearing them down. As you wear them down, they start bringing people more up in the box to stop the run. That opens up your passing game. I wish while they're watching film and preparing, they see that. You know what I'm saying? I think there was a stat where up until the Eagles game, maybe, or before that, when Pacheco touched the ball 15 plus times, we were undefeated because nobody wants to tackle that guy. You've got the horses up front, probably the outside of the three interior in Philly. I'm trying to think. You probably have the second best interior lineman in the game. You've got the second best center in the league, because you got to give Kelsey his credit. And the two of the best guards in the league. Maybe not the top, but those guys like to run block. So hand the ball off. I know it's not pretty. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's not glamorous. People want points because they're spoiled that us having the number one ranked offense for 4 years or whatever. But sometimes you have to reinvent yourself. And at the end of the day, winning is winning. Do you really care how you get it? You know what I'm saying? Marty would be running the heck out of Pacheco right now. Like, but Pacheco stood out. Travis stood out. That's probably the best thing I can say about the offense. Oh, and they scored in the second half again, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Well, and I would add to that, Rashee Rice, 8 receptions in this game. That's twice the second most. Travis had 4 receptions. Nobody else had more than 4 receptions other than Rice, who had double that with 8. Yeah, it was only 64 yards, but still 8 receptions there. And to me, those 8 receptions helped take the defense, like take the pressure off so that Travis could get his 4 that he did get. And we did have a Richie James reception for 12 yards on there. So, I'd like to see them lean into that. I think outside of everything you've already mentioned for the offense, Gooch, the offense put up 337 yards in this game. The passing yards definitely weren't what you would want it to be. But 148 rushing yards, right? 25 first downs. The Chiefs actually had one more first down than the Packers did. Third down efficiency, they were 7 of 11, which is got to be what? Something like 68.5%, just making the math up in my head, but it's got to be something close to that. they only ran 2 less plays than the Packers. And so, even the sacks, they gave up one more sack. Do you know which team punted more, Gooch, the Chiefs or the Packers? I'll just tell you, the Packers punted the ball more. They punted twice. The Chiefs only punted once in this game. And
Really?
yeah,
Like I'm
the
actually
Chiefs,
trying to huh.
like if you were to look at the box score with the exception of the passing yards and the score, if you looked at everything else in these box scores, you would look at this game and yeah, the other exception here is Patrick's interception, right? Neither team had any fumbles lost, and that was the only interception thrown. Even time of possession, the Chiefs had the ball for 29 minutes, 28 seconds. The Packers had it for 30 minutes, 32 seconds. So going up and down here, it was either really similar or, outside of passing yards, the Chiefs had a slight edge, like third down efficiency. And so, if you look at that, it kind of gives a little context to this game. It was a 1 touchdown loss. And so this is my attempt at being positive here and talking about what went well. And so with that said, Gooch, we're going to move on and hit the other side of that. What did not go well? What didn't work? What players stood out on the offense in a negative way for the wrong reasons? I know where you're going to go with this, but go ahead. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna let you go first since you know where I'm going. Where do you think I'm going?
You're going to go with the offensive tackles first and foremost. That's my belief. You're going first and foremost with the offensive tackles. You're going to talk about how they gave up the pressure, and very truly, like the clip that I did show of MVS being held there. Patrick had some options, but the pressure came in such a way that once those options became open, like Patrick basically went down, even though he only ended up getting sacked 3 times in the game. It's kind of the moments that it was like the first 2 sacks of the game, if I recall correctly. And so maybe we could say this is a positive. If I recall correctly, the first 2 sacks came on the very first drive, right? First and goal and third and goal on the first drive, I believe, were 2 out of the 3 sacks, which means all the rest of the game, our offense only gave up 1 sack, which is another positive. But giving up the pressures and giving up the sacks, and flushing Mahomes where he didn't, in such a way that he didn't have the opportunity to spot the guy who was open. To me, I think that's one place you're going to go with it. It's really easy to tear down the wide receivers and all of that. And I don't know that you're going to go there, but I'll go there. I'm going to go with both. And I know this is going to get into something else we're going to talk about, so I'll explain it more then. But I'm going to go with play calling and play design. And then I'll just talk about that.
Honestly,
go ahead.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. That was actually where I was going to go initially, because I think beating up the tackles, honestly, is like beating a dead horse. I don't think, in all honesty, I think with the way that this offense is set up, Donovan Smith is a good fill-in for Orlando Brown. He protects a lot better than Orlando for the cost. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really. Jawan Taylor's getting flagged more than Donovan Smith. It's the times that he's getting flagged that hurt us. It seems like we're only getting really flagged is when something good happens. But the main thing
does that seem like a coincidence to you, Gooch?
I don't believe in coincidences. I know that they're probably singling that shit out. I mean, there was some like people are tired of the Chiefs. They don't want another New England. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I get it. Like, I'm not saying the NFL is rigged. I'm not saying that it's scripted or anything like that. But the NFL doesn't want another 20-year reign by another quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just, even if, no, Brady didn't win 20 Super Bowls in his 20 years, but the one thing that you could almost guarantee is they were going to be somewhere around the AFC Championship game every single year, except the year that he was hurt. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be in the mix. He was in a weak division. But the main thing that stood out, I'm not going to beat up the wide receivers because I have said before, and we have said, Andy Reid's offense is hard. And yes, you could say, well, Rice is picking it up, blah, 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 blah. But he's doing a lot of Travis Kelce stuff. He's doing a lot of Juju stuff, which is like in the middle of the field crossers and stuff like that. Like, he's doing what he's supposed to do, and he wasn't asked to learn 3 to 4 different positions like Sky was, or like they're trying to get Tony. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got his own routes, But I do not like how long it's taken the offense to wake up when they first start the game. I mean, we never complained and moaned about the offense because it was almost like Andy's script or Eric's script or whoever it is, whoever you want to give credit for. I think it's a combination of both. The script was almost flawless. You could almost guarantee we were going to get down and score a touchdown. I mean, I think last year we went 13 or 14 out of 17 games scoring an opening drive touchdown. Like, and you already put the team you're facing behind you so you could be a little more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. I think it's taking too long for the offense to wake up. I don't know who's scripting the first 15 to 20. I don't know if they're assuming that people are going to come out a certain way. This kind of reminds me of when they went to the too high shell and teams were doing stuff different just against the Chiefs, and it took Mahomes a while to figure it out. I think that's where we are again. Only this time, I won't say unproven or unreliable, but you've got new guys. You know what I'm saying? Who, in all fairness, Richie James, Tony from the Giants, which is a completely different offense. You know what I'm saying? MVS knows his role. Let's assume he's getting held 75% of the time. And the refs are too busy focused on what Patrick's going to do or Kelsey or flagging Juwan Taylor or whatever. They're not seeing it. And we're not doing anything to counteract that. Like, I know they have man and zone beaters. And I know they've got stuff, for certain situations. They just need to figure it out sooner. That's what stood out. The rest of the guys, I think they're playing great. They still have a better than average offense. I think it's 13th or 12th or something like that. It's not going to be Miami's this year, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers. I think we just need to relax. I think they still need time. I think if we could go on a little bit of a run, 4-1, 5-0 to run out the season, I think the confidence is there. On top of that, you don't really have anybody. I mean, the playoff picture right now, Mahomes is the vet. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I've been rambling. The offense is what stood out to me. I'm not going to do the tackles because you even pointed out, aside from the timing of certain penalties, they do well.
Right.
He is still one of the lowest sacked quarterbacks in the league. And yes, he's run more this year, but it isn't because of the tackles. It's because of the coverages. And I think he's having to I think they changed it, and he's having to relearn how to attack it.
Yeah,
What do you think?
and talking about the whole Juwan Taylor thing, like the two games that stood out to me most were the Jags game and the Eagles game, mainly because he played for the Jags last year. He was doing everything he's doing now when he played for the Jags. We were all screaming about it in the playoffs last year, and we were all basically told to go F off, that there's nothing illegal about what he's doing until Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football or whatever, the NBC crew starts pointing stuff out. Then all of a sudden, not when Joey Bosa is pointing it out in the game against the Jags, not when Chiefs fans are pointing it out in the playoffs last year. It just happens to be, this year. And then against the Eagles, when you have Lane Johnson, who literally does the exact same thing.
Every single play.
And he's doing it. Even the lining up part, and he's doing it, and he didn't get flagged at all in the exact same game with the exact same refs, which is why I think it's 100% fair to say. But, I will say this in defense of Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith. Again, we know Donovan Smith is hurt right now. The assumption is he's been playing hurt all season, but they're also making an adjustment. This is their first season in this offense. And we were giving Orlando Brown Jr. 2 seasons, and we were still getting him. Well, he just needs another year to adjust to the offense type of thing. But Andy was giving Orlando and Andrew Wiley all kinds of chip help, tight end help. He's doing some of that, but he's not doing it to the same extent that he was doing it, last year for Orlando and Wiley. Mahomes is still the second least sacked quarterback in the NFL, and the Chiefs have more passing attempts than the team that has the least amount of sacks. And I think it's like a 1 or 2 sack difference. I believe it's the Bills are the least sacked team, but the Chiefs have like 37 more passing attempts, something like that, and only 1 more sack. So, I think this is part of Andy just saying, well, let's just keep, seeing what they can do on an island on their own for the most part. And then, if they have to in the playoffs, they'll do the exact same thing they did in the Super Bowl, and, how they had to do the whole playoffs. They had to give Orlando help. They had to give Andrew help, and anyone watching Washington games this year sees what happens when you don't give Andrew Wiley help, right? Which is weird with EB there. If anybody should know his limitations, you would think it would be EB. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this point any farther here. Chris says the offensive line are beast. I think that is still true. I also think that offensive line play seems to be taking a bigger hit this year because of what defensive coordinators, to me, it seems like they are, manipulating offensive lines much harder this year than I remember the last couple of years, whether it's the different stunts and, loops and stuff that they're doing, really challenging offensive lines. And maybe part of that is juggling on offenses. And maybe it's that, they're realizing how you can, at least early in the season, right? You can steal some wins, on defense by attacking offensive lines that haven't gelled yet and are not great yet on their communications and passing guys off. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Chris asked about the red zone efficiency. I don't know that for the game. I can pull it up for the season, the passing anyway, and put that on the screen here for you so you can see how the offensive red zone passing has been. I don't know if I can make this much bigger so that you can read it any better.
I think red zone efficiency last year was 71%. I think this year it's 59. 60 something.
So this is just passing, right, for this year in the red zone. Mahomes uh, is at 61.5%, has 246 yards, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's inside the 20. When you get into the 10, he's 21 of 33 for 63.64%, 82 yards, and 17 touchdowns, which is, still a majority of those red zone touchdowns. I think some of that, even if there's a regression in those numbers, right? Last year, you kind of had those tight end kind of shovel passes and, the fullback shovel passes, some of those kind of plays that I don't think you can get away with this year because teams are just like, it's always there now in the back of their heads. So that's just the passing part of it for this season, but I don't have it for this game other than that Mahomes took all 3 of his sacks in the red zone, right? So maybe there's something there that Andy is going to have to start helping, especially in the red zone, because it seems like that might be whether teams are bringing the pressure more in the red zone, right? Because if you're the other team, go ahead and play bend but don't break, let them get to the red zone, and you have that extra buffer because everything is getting condensed. Then you bring your pressure because, hey, the end zone itself is kind of an extra defender or two, so you can go ahead and bring 1 or 2 guys blitzing and bring that extra pressure. I don't know if that's the case, just a guess here. So it might be that Andy wants to start doing some of those things that he's done in the past with his tight ends squeezing the edges, some chips by the running back or tight ends, some of the things that they were doing, especially in the red zone. I personally would like to see more 12 and 13 personnel in the red zone, Gooch, just so that you have that threat of run. But if you need to keep some of those guys to pass block, you have them there for it. But Gooch, this is directed at you. Chris asked, why are we still not scoring points?
I am going to give you the simplest answer that nobody's going to like. But if you think about it, it makes total sense. Ready? Here goes. These guys that are professional athletes that are doing something that we can only dream of 17 weeks a year, they're still human. And they know that they're not scoring touchdowns. And I think they're pressing. I think when they get down there, they know how it's been, and they all want to get in badly, which just compounds the problem. Because instead of it just being as organic as it can be in a football field, they're pressing to get in there, and we're just not. That is my personal opinion on it. Hi, Hannah.
Yeah, that's a pretty simplistic answer, just as you said it would be. But I thought you were going to say we need to run the ball more. That's what I really thought you were going to say, and that part of it was that teams are keying in on Travis even more so. I think there's a simplistic answer as well, Gooch, but I think it's just that the condensed space is like getting amplified. Like what we were doing on offense, a lot of these plays, and again, we were going to get into like the play design, play call. If you want to talk about the route running, we showed that one play and there wasn't a whole lot there. Right. And when teams are dropping seven into zone and you're in that condensed space, like it makes things a lot harder. I think you really have to have a concerted effort by Patrick to run uh, when things are not there much quicker. But, the defense is ready for that sometimes as well. And they have spies, So again, for
This
me,
is this is why this is why I said they're pressing, because it's condensed. But just last year, and you're one aside from Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor, the receiving core is the same, the tight end room is the same, the interior offensive line is the same, the quarterback, the running back, all the same, minus Juju. And last year, 70% of the time, we were scoring touchdowns. You can't tell me that when you have a history and knowing you can do something, when you're struggling, you're not pressing to get back to where you used to be. I mean, that's true with any human being, male, female, in any field. Like if your performance starts slacking and you know what you're capable of, sometimes you're pressing to get back to that level and it's hurting you more than it's helping you. That's why I was saying like pressing.
yeah, I mean, it could be. There's a couple other things I'll throw out there that are different from last year. Last year we had a fullback on the roster, and this year we have a head coach, a quarterback, and a tight end who apparently filmed a hell of a lot of commercials. And I'm not saying that's the excuse. I'm just saying these are also things outside of, adding Nagy, adding Smith and Taylor, and losing Juju. Uh, that, you know, and interestingly though, it would be interesting to go back and look at who was getting the red zone snaps, right? Who was getting the red zone snaps and who was getting the red zone targets, because it would be interesting to see, right? Obviously, Justin Ross is on the exempt list right now, but it seemed like the limited route tree he had with the skill set that he had also though made him a prime red zone target. It seems like to me that having Richie James on the field and Kadarius Toney on the field in the red zone for a few limited snaps, right? He can't be that breakable. That those would be your moves in the red zone, right? Like the lineups we've seen and the plays we've seen, those certainly cannot be Andy Reid's best, in my opinion. At the very least, put some 12 and 13 personnel out there so you have a legitimate threat to running. And we're going to get to this more when we talk about what the Packers did. Like, to me, I just think that's a big part of it. But Chris says, Lane Johnson is worse. Hannah's finally joining from work. I hope you don't get fired. Wanye is better than Donovan. I mean, it very well could be. Again, I'm operating under the assumption that Donovan was injured last year, and I'm operating under the assumption that he's not at 100%. But certainly they could be very close. And, if that's the case, it seems like Andy's always going to lean towards the veteran, right? Whether it's Justin Watson on offense, whether it's Blake Bell on offense, Sorensen over Thornhill. It just seems like this team, if they have a choice and it's really close, if you're a young guy, you really, really got to make it not close to really push your way into the lineup. Gooch Maui says you can't shovel pass to a dude who's 5'4". Very true. Dan, welcome in if you're still with us here. Dan's finally able to come in, even for a minute. We thank you for showing us your love, Dan. Make sure you guys check out Dan's channel, Dan Talks Football. He goes live Tuesdays and Friday nights at 7 p.m. And he also does a live stream during every Chiefs game. He's not showing the game. That would be a copyright violation. But he is doing a play-by-play live stream during every Chiefs game. So, guys, make sure you check out his channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe his channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Back Talk Bros. Like this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And
Dan's pretty smart, guys, for all the crap I give him. I mean, he's pretty smart. He's an all right guy. You'd enjoy his live stream just for the shine off his dome. And we've made a drinking game out of how soon he's going to mess up a play.
So Dan says, "Oh, sorry, you broke up there, Gooch. I thought you were done talking. My bad."
It's okay. It's all good.
Dan said, "I'd like to see more of Ross." Also, yeah, I mean, we're not going to see him now, right? Period. But yeah, I didn't understand why we hadn't been seeing him at the very least in the red zone, right, Gooch? Like, you have a limited route tree anyway in the red zone, so what the hell? Put your jump ball guys in. Put your guys who are going to make guys miss in that short condensed part of the field. And to me,
I still don't think Patrick is comfortable throwing it. I think that's why you don't get it. And I think Ross will come back if they get him off the exempt list, and we can get to the rest of that comment too. But I don't think Patrick's comfortable throwing the jump ball. Like I keep trying to replay like a lot of the games that we've watched, and he doesn't do it hardly ever.
He needs to.
What I mean? Right.
He needs to.
Absolutely. But if you think about it, if you go back, how many jump balls? I don't think I've ever really seen him throw a real jump ball. I mean, the Hail Mary, you know what I'm saying? But he just doesn't do it. And I don't think he's comfortable doing it. He didn't have to do it at Texas Tech. He probably didn't have to do it in high school from the highlights I've seen. He didn't. Like, I just don't think he's as comfortable as a lot of people. Maybe, I don't know, but he doesn't do it very often. I think that's the problem. But you're right. Like, I would have Kelsey and his 6'7" behind Ross, because Ross is 6'4", 6'5".
Ross, Rice, Tony.
Yep, right. And have them, and Richie James even. And
right, you can switch out you can switch out James and Noah Gray. You put those however you want to mix it up. You can switch, put in James sometimes, put in Noah Gray sometimes, right? Run those guys out there. Go ahead.
No, I'm just that's where I was. And the other, it is interesting, Dan, that Von Miller isn't on the exempt list for what he's accused of. And the only thing I can think of, because right now, the pundits, and there are some idiots out there, the pundits can't make it about race because they're both African American. You know what I'm saying? So the only thing I can think of now is Von Miller's a star and Ross is not. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna let Von Miller's stuff really play out before they put him on the exempt list, as opposed to, an undrafted free agent who's really kind of in his first year. You know what I mean? That's the only solution I could come up with. Because you have accusations. It's not like Ray Rice. For anybody who's gonna be like, well, Ray Rice was on video. So was the greatest kicker in football history. You know what I'm saying? It's video. But right now what you have is accusations. He turned himself in. So they have to let it kind of, I think once he gets charged, you'll see it. But until then, like they're just gonna play it by ear,
Yeah, I saw someone claim that whoever the female is walked back some things, but I also saw someone say, there's pictures, or like it was part of the police report that she had bruises or whatever. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I still get Dan's point, and that's with Justin Ross, it was you're going on the exempt list until we figure this all out. But Von Miller, it's you're going to continue to play. Now, at the end of the day, I think Chiefs fans, however you want to look at it, probably really only care because the Chiefs and Bills play this week. But
That's true.
Maui says, do you think Mahomes' arm strength has regressed? Seems to underthrow a ton of deep passes. I think what Gooch is going to say is that a good chunk of that is route running. You know, and that could be it. You know, I don't know how much I've seen him underthrow on deep passes. It seems like he's been a little like
Long.
deeper. Yeah.
Right.
And I still kind of wonder if part of that is like, I'm gonna ask this Gooch instead of saying it, because I don't want to get I don't want people to grab their pitchforks and run me out of town here. But Gooch, how much could that possibly be that perhaps Patrick's deep accuracy isn't as great as we thought, and it was partially saved by the fact that Tyreek Hill is an athletic freak that Patrick couldn't possibly overthrow, and Tyreek had the ability to slow down and adjust and come back to balls that he underthrew?
I think it's twofold. I think, first of all, you nailed it dead on with what I was going to say in the beginning. But I think it's twofold. I think, I don't know if his accuracy has diminished. I think a lot of it, I think some of it is game speed. And I think he's learning that. Tyreek is fast, whether he's like running in practice or he's running on the field. He's the same guy. Because if you watch most of the passes to Marquez, when Marquez is deep down the field, Patrick is really close when MVS runs the right route. Like he almost always puts it on him on those deep passes.
And there's usually some contact to MVS
right.
on those routes as well.
Right. So he's usually on point. Like if he's not, if MVS isn't disturbed or bumped or held or slowed down a step, he's usually right there. But I think, and I hate to use this comparison, but it's perfect for this. And I'm not calling any of our receivers this guy. But in practice, you can run a 4.5 and on game day run a 4.4. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they used to say that about Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice ran a 4.6 in practice, and on the field, he was 4.4 speed. You could tell because he's pulling away from people. You know, sometimes people just run differently in pads. Some people run slower in pads. And I think he's still trying to figure that part out. Yes, he said all the great stuff about Sky in practice. It's practice. They're not hitting. And he knows he's going to get these routes, and Mahomes has the time because nobody's going to hit the yellow jersey. You know what I'm saying? Game speed is a lot faster, and you're trying to get on point with these receivers. And I think that's a big, big problem.
And I think part of what you're saying here, Gooch, to put it in perspective for other people, it's like how Mahomes runs faster when he has a defender chasing him.
Exactly. And people actually talk about that. Like I was actually listening to some guys on a podcast. It was just like somebody may mention that when Mahomes runs, he looks like he's power walking at the mall. But for some reason, he's running away from, even on a high ankle sprain in the Super Bowl, he's running away from guys who ran a 40-yard dash faster than he did. And all they had to do is chase him, and he was pulling away. Like I just think that he hasn't quite figured out their speed yet. So he's kind of just, it's still hit and miss. I mean, it's still an offense that needs work. And that's just how I see it. Like, but I do know when he's chucking it down there, like he didn't, when Rice is open down the field on those deep passes that are 20, 25 yards, he's putting it right on them, and Watson's making good catches. When MVS is getting open down the field, he's putting it on him. MVS is just dropping it, or there's contact, and he can't get there.
So I don't think it's very few times he makes a good catch.
Right. I don't think I think a lot, if you do see the underthrow, Mahomes is still trying to gauge it, and so he's taking a lot off to try and give them opportunity to catch it when it's underthrown. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, when you see him overthrowing or throwing high or whatever like that, I again think he's pressing. He's a two-time MVP, the face of the league, and he realizes that as he's one of the few quarterback, well, every quarterback kind of takes the blame, but he's one of the few that probably take it to heart that those guys aren't performing because I'm not performing. And he also could be pressing. He's still a young man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's feasible in a game that, a game of inches where unlike college football, losing, I mean, obviously college football, you have 13 games. If you go 12-1, you can still get into the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. But 10-7 might not get you there. You know what I'm saying? 10-7 sure not going to get you a first round bye. Like all this stuff is important. And as it gets late in the season and him wanting to play his best when he gets into the playoffs, which he's repeatedly said, I think he's pressing too. I think none of them are comfortable. And when they get comfortable, you'll start seeing things like you'll be like, oh, there it is. Took them long enough, yada, yada. And then we won't be talking about receivers and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. We'll forget that we had any problems. But no, I don't think it's regressed. I think he's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and something Seth Kaiser had, I think his latest Substack, one of the things he talked about was how, this is the first time in the Mahomes era, basically, that the Chiefs are finding out how the rest of the NFL lives, right? Like this is like the first time they're losing games with less than their best. Like they're not used to going out with less than their best and still not winning, at a high level. And that's kind of what they're seeing this year. And so, yeah, your end result with that can be pressing more. But maybe also some of it is, we've talked for the last few years about how they also have lacked the ability to come out with urgency, right? We've talked about this for years. Especially going back to that playoff game against the Texans, like just their inability to come out with urgency. And now that you have these issues going on in the offense coming out that way, it's a lot harder for you to come back from it. I'll just say that. But anyway, as we push through here on the offense, Gooch, our last question for our offensive review is, what are your show me's for this next game? What do you need the offense to show you for this next game against the Bills? What are you looking for? What's the biggest thing? And hey, apparently that question scared Gooch away. No, I'm sure he had a call or something he had to put on his cape and take off his glasses and solve here. So I'll give you guys my show me for the offense. You guys can give me your show me in the comment. What do you need to see from this offense in the next game? There's Gooch. I need to see something closer to the offense against the Raiders. It is my big show me. Like, I need to see some actual tangible results from all the work that Andy and Pat are saying that the team and the coaching staff is putting in. We're turning into week 14. We're sitting at 8-4 now. So I need to see some actual tangible results from the wide receivers and see that there is growth. And as Gooch would say, that the coaching staff is starting to hold players responsible, which, by the way, should have never been Eric Bieniemy's responsibility anyway, or Matt Nagy's. Andy Reid's the head coach. He needs to be holding his coaches accountable and responsible in order for them to hold their players, their respective groups, accountable. Gooch, what's your offensive show me for this next game? What do you need to see?
First, I'm not going to scare, and I don't want to put a scare into anybody. but Mahomes was on the injury report with a pectoral injury. He practiced, but he's on the injury report. So depending on which pec it is, that could a little bit too. And I agree with everything you said about the offense. Give me the Raiders game. And I'm with Maui. Maui's the same way. Like quick decisions, let the ball go. I get that. It almost seems like Mahomes is sitting back there way too long, like we talked about a couple shows ago, kind of waiting for Kelsey to get open, and he's kind of missing wide open reads. Or even something that he would have done last year, and I'm going to use what you've shown on that clip, MVS being held, chuck the ball at him. Make the refs look at MVS so they can see he's being held and start getting those penalties. You know what I'm saying? Like just because he's being held, if you throw the ball out there and the refs have to pay attention, then we'll start getting more flags and start moving the ball. He'll get held less. He used to do that all the time, and he would point like, hey, my guy's being held, and I chucked him the ball. Like, you got to give us the opportunity. Like, yeah, we don't want calling for flags, and, because we would do that. We would say that with any other team. Why are you calling for a flag? Just play a game, blah, blah, blah. But, one of the things that you have to play with the hand that you're dealt, and sometimes you have to force the official's hand. You know what I'm saying? Because if it continues to show up, like after that game, even with all the holding, now people are texting other people saying the NFL has to do something about the officiating. So now they're thinking about full-time referees with training and this, that, and the other. Like, because you're going to have to force the hand. You're just going to have to. Mahomes is going to have to get rid of the ball. It's not even about making good decisions. Sometimes you got to make a bad decision to get a positive result. You know what I mean? But still focus like the Raiders. Let's keep Rasheed running across the middle, getting those short routes, hand Pacheco the ball. You know what I'm saying? And just roll. That would be it. I agree with you on the offense. Show me.
Yeah,
I sure do. You going to bring me one?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but what was I going to say? Oh, as far as refs are concerned, like are full-time refs really the answer? Couldn't we simply simplify this by doing what the XFL does, Gooch? Like, I don't know how much XFL you watched this last season, the XFL coming back, but why couldn't the Sky Judge simply, right? The way the XFL did it, having Dean Blandino as their Sky Judge, and they also had a film crew in there, so you could see him talking in real time to the refs, explaining his thought process, explaining what he's seeing. So you have real-time accountability on TV, and you have one guy making those calls, so you have that consistency. Wouldn't that be much easier than having full-time officials? Or you could even make pass interference or whatever a challengeable play, if you want to call it that, whatever. But, I don't think the latter is really going to help, because then you get into, if I recall correctly, the report, like the refs have to, like, they get interviewed after the game and they give their explanation for whatever. What I remember seeing is that the ref tried to explain the one pass interference no call is like it wasn't a catchable ball or something. So you're always going to have refs like in each of these games, like they're going to have some kind of dumb explanation, right? But at least if you have a Sky Judge, even the missed calls, because one of the call that basically nobody's talking about, and it wasn't just one play, because I've already seen two plays, and I haven't even watched all of Green Bay's offensive drives, but Rasheed Walker, their left tackle, loved to get his hands on the defender's face mask when he was blocking. And on the 4th and 1 on the 33-yard pass, he was face masking Mike Dana for about 3 or 4 seconds. And I know this is all over the internet now, and I know a lot of people have seen it. And it doesn't excuse the fact that there were 4 or 5 defenders watching the Green Bay receiver basically fair catch a punt as they're standing around, and Jordan Love drops it in between them. But I'm going to stop because I don't want to get into a whole ref thing, and we could do it. All I'll say is it's very ironic. And if I was a conspiracy theorist and I really did believe that the NFL wanted the Chiefs to win, this is exactly what I would write into my script happening, that the Chiefs keep getting screwed over by the refs every single regular season game just to see the tides turn in the playoffs. That's good script writing, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And if you guys watched last week, then you know why, because all conspiracy theorists are a plant from the government to distract you from what's really going on. Now that we've got back into that joke, I'm going to move on. Gooch, defensive review. What went well? What worked? What players stood out in a positive way to you, if any?
What stood out? The fact that we had a bunch of people go down.
So since we're talking positive,
we're talking positive. Okay.
Yeah. So are you talking about how players still stepped up?
They only gave up. How many points they give up? 24.
27.
27. It's the first time they've given up more than 21 all season long. And they still played fairly well. It took them a while to wake up, but I still think they're playing solidly overall. Even with Cook and Tranquil going down and Jack Cochran have to take over for Tranquil in a position that I don't think he plays very much, he still did well. And Chamari Connor looked good out there, filling in for Brian. So, I mean, all in all, the defense is good. I want to put some on the whole team, too. The Chiefs have 2 Super Bowl rings in the last, 4 years? Everybody's getting up to play the Chiefs. That kind of intensity or even motivation is hard to keep up for 17 weeks in a season. So even though sometimes it looks like we're not playing our best game and we're picking it apart game by game, you have to remember that for a lot of teams, this is their Super Bowl. They're not going to get to the playoffs, or even if they do get to the playoffs, they're not a legit shot to make a run. And so sometimes it's hard to be up for every game against every team. And, please don't bring up, we decimated the Raiders. The Raiders is a lifetime rivalry. You're going to get up for your rivals even if you're, 0-10. You're still going to get up for them because it's bragging rights. You know what I'm saying? And the Chiefs have always, even though we've been winning, the Chiefs have always been a team that kind of looks at the postseason as the start of their season. So, I mean, while we're busy picking the game apart, because that's what we do game by game, and the things that we would like to see them do better, and we're picking out the mistakes because we're not Kool-Aid snorters and all of that, we do have to remember, since Andy Reid has been the head coach, we have missed the playoffs one time. So just relax a little. But the defense played, I think, admirably for losing Tranquil in the first quarter and losing Brian Cook on something that, I mean, I don't know if the MRI is back, but it looked gross. on the game. So and the other guys stepped up and did what they were supposed to do. That's why we got the depth, the young depth. So the defense as a whole stood out to me. And if you want me to be honest, I'm going to say his name because it didn't get said a lot during the game. McDuffie is still beasting out there. I mean, he's still doing the daggum thing. I didn't hear his name hardly at all during the game, which for a defensive player, unless you're creating a sack or a fumble, is what you want, to not be named. But that's just me. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that I'm not going to put as much of this on the defense. We'll get to the coaches here in a little bit, but I'm going to throw up a few clips here, and hopefully we can get away with just a few seconds here without the NFL doing their crap. But I thought that the Packers. Listen, the Packers beat the Lions, who are a really good team. Like, the Packers are getting hot at the right time. Their offensive line is gelling at the right time. They're getting guys back from injury at the right time. They had a really good offensive draft, the last year or so in collecting offensive weapons. Looking at this offense, if anyone goes back and watches the game, in a lot of ways, it reminded me, and I said this on Dan's show last night, it reminds me a lot of watching the San Francisco 49ers. They did a great job with their fullback and their tight ends and using those guys interchangeably. They would bring tight ends across, kind of like an end around. They were having them motioning them back into the backfield, and they would come around and they were blocking on run plays, on tosses. They even they had a lot of creativity, and even before Tranquil went out, they were stretching the defense, and they were stressing the defense, and especially the linebackers. Excuse me. So I'm going to put up just a few plays here, just so you guys can see a couple plays that I'm talking about. And these plays are all just from, I want to say, the first drive. And so you can kind of get an idea for what kind of stresses. That's the fullback, right? Let me go back here. This is a fullback lined up right there, motioning in the back, and he's going to block on this pitch, right? Like, this offense in some ways reminds me of the Lions running game. In some ways, it reminds me of the 49ers, but especially the 49ers in the way that there was a lot of interchangeable ability between the tight ends and the fullback, like the way the 49ers, and I'm not saying that they're not George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk, but the way that you can use George Kittle as a fullback if you want to, and you can kind of use Kyle as a tight end if you want to. Those are kind of some of the things that, as I'm watching this, like, you can see the Kyle Shanahan influence finally on Matt LaFleur's offense, now that Aaron Rodgers is gone and Jordan Love's becoming comfortable in it. So, I'm going to play this again. You have a wide receiver coming in motion here. He gets the handoff, but your running back, right, your halfback, is one of his lead blockers. I'm not saying he does a great job, but, it's still stressing. Here's your tight end blocking. Do they have two tight ends on that side? I think they just had the one, but you have a right tackle, right? It looks like the right tackle is pulling, letting the tight end take the blocker. So you have a right tackle and a halfback blocking for your wide receiver, on like an end around. And there's a few. I'm only going to show a couple more clips here. Hopefully, the NFL leaves us alone, since we're not just like throwing stuff up there. We're talking about everything, but the NFL's the NFL. I'll say this is the first drive of the game for the Packers. I mean, you have so much going on here, right? You have all this going on just for a run up the middle. Right? So you got the receiver coming in motion again, and by this point you have to respect it, right? You have to 100% respect it. Then you have the halfback running the opposite direction here, but you still have kind of this pulling action, right? If you're a linebacker, you might key off on the fact that this receiver in motion and the tight end are both coming across, the other way. So is one of them getting the ball and the other one blocking for him? You might think so. You got to respect it as a linebacker, and so it's just, and you can see, who is that? Is that, that's Mike Edwards, right? Coming over with the motion. And so my whole point is, and I'm just showing plays from the first drive. My whole point in all this is that the Packers offense, to me, and again, you got to remember, they didn't just beat the Chiefs, they beat the Lions too. This Packers offense, to me, is going to be the real deal. And I don't think that we can discount that. And we'll talk about the coaches, but I'll just give my spoiler alert right now. I do believe that both Spags and Andy were out-coached in this game by a country mile. And listen, kudos to Matt LaFleur and kudos to Joe Barry for their performances in this game. But to me, they did a great job on offense, especially. Here you have the tight end lined up as a receiver. He's coming in motion, right? Who knows what he's going to do, right? So, I mean, again, to me, they did an excellent job of stretching our defense. I didn't even show the pass plays, but to me, it looked like, Gooch, to me, it looked like they had really studied the tape. They knew where the holes in Spags' defense would be, depending on the route they ran. They knew where they would have that hole, and what I saw on tape. This is my interpretation. I'm not saying I'm right, but it really looked like they knew where they would find the holes in Spags' defense. And, you can look at that negatively, but you can also look at it as, when you expose a defense like that, it's only going to help that defense get better in the long run, right? Better week 13 than week 17 or the divisional round or the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl. Hey, Daryl, welcome in. We are glad to have you. All right, next question, Gooch. We're going to try to fly through these a little bit more. What didn't go well? What didn't work? What players stood out for the wrong reasons on the defense?
I think Spags was trying to play conservatively in the beginning and start turning it up. I think Snead was playing off too much and let a lot of catches go by. I won't say he played badly, but he definitely wasn't playing tight like he normally does. And honestly, I don't think anybody stood out for the wrong reasons. I think we could have gotten better pass rush for sure, but
Right.
I mean, nothing singularly that I mean, overall, it was still pretty decent. I just think that we were playing off a little too much, maybe not respecting Watson, who you liked, and Dobbs. as much as we should have. But overall, still decent defensive effort, in my opinion.
And it wasn't even necessarily those guys eating us alive. I think Tucker Kraft had a pretty good game. Let me look that up here. But let's see. Yeah, I mean he was I guess he was fourth in the team. That he was third. Nope, he was tied for fourth in receptions, but he had 37 yards for 12.3 average. Yeah, Watson had 7 catches for 71. Dubs had 4 for 72, so he was the yardage leader in the game. And Dontavian Wicks, I've never even heard of him before, had 3 for 43. But Tucker Kraft was 3 for 37 yards here. But yeah, it's one of the things, and I think what you're saying is one of the things that stuck out to me was how much zone we were playing against them. And I don't know if that's because they saw what the Lions did. They watched that video, and that was their strategy. But man, it just seemed like they knew where the holes were in the zone, in those zones. But if there was a player that I had to nitpick on a little bit, outside to say I don't really remember Carl Loftus having much of a positive impact in this game. Mike Dana wasn't necessarily as sound on the edge as I would have liked to have seen him be. Interestingly enough, it seemed like there was a lot of Dana and Omenahue on the edge, right? And usually we see them as their most effective inside. One of the things, I haven't seen it on film, but I heard Jason Dunn say it, was that, and again, this kind of goes back to coaching, but he was saying that whenever Chris Jones came out to get his little breather, that Green Bay immediately went into the hurry up so he could never get back on the field. I can't confirm that, but that is what Jason Dunn was saying. All right, so this part's really quick. Gooch, what about our special teams review? I skipped a couple here. What went well? Who stood out? I don't know that we really have much to say for this one, right? Like, basically same old for the most part. Tommy had 1 punt, so not a whole lot there. I don't know. I could check the return.
Yeah, I got nothing on the special teams, bro. Like I mean, what can you say when he only punts one and Green Bay only punts twice? Like it's we didn't see them much. Which scares me because if you didn't live through the no punt game,
yeah,
you don't have PTSD from us not making them punt that much or whatever like that. But I have nothing on the special teams.
All right.
I mean, you know what? What I will say about the special teams, they didn't show up, but they weren't like being called out or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think in a positive note here, so in a positive light, your special teams, your core special teams did great. Richie James had 2 kick returns for 53 yards, averaging 26.5 yards per kick return. Butker was a perfect 2 for 2 on field goals, and had an extra point. And Tommy Townsend, his 1 punt went for 57 yards. So, those, I think those are all 3 the main positives. I'll go ahead and answer here real quick of what didn't go well. And that is on the opposite side of things. Kession Nixon, who had the interception, right, had 2 returns for 60 yards. So he was averaging 30 yards a kick return, which is clearly a negative. And, to me, I think that's about the only blemish for special teams in this game was our kick return coverage. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Gooch, but I think that's basically covers it.
Nope, I'm good. And Daryl, if you look down, Daryl has a take on the Sky Moore play too.
Yeah, I see that. We talked about that earlier, and I think Gooch and I agreed that we're just going to probably continue to disagree on that one. And so, I'm too tired to tell Gooch he's wrong. But special teams, Gooch, do you have a show me for next week? How about show me you can cover a kickoff? How about that one, right?
How about show me you can let the punt go when it's inside the 10?
Hey, didn't we do that in this game and it came back to like bite us?
Oh, I don't know. I must have missed it. I was probably in the middle of yelling at somebody.
Yeah, I don't know if I can pull up a play-by-play here, but I think they downed a punt like right there at like the 1 or 2. Someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did. I think we let one go and it got downed at like the 1 or 2 yard line. I don't know. I could be off on that. I could be thinking of another game that I watched during the weekend. Who knows with me? But really quickly here, Gooch, our coaching staff review of the game. How do you feel about the game plan for this game? The adjustments that were made, game management decisions. How are you feeling about all that?
I honestly think might be one of the few times I say this. I think we had spurts, but I think in the end we were outcoached. Definitely not any of our coaches' best game for sure. And that's not thing away from the floor. He's obviously smart. But I think this game just showed we were outcoached this game. Maybe not prepared like we should have been, and which again falls on coaching. So
there you go, Gooch. Aaron says right at the end of the first half on the punt.
You go back to sleep.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the play that we've all been arguing about, right? That play in and of itself, I think you can make the argument that play itself is a poorly designed play. And I know we love to defend Patrick, and I know in Chiefs Kingdom we love to think that he doesn't do any wrong. And whatever our take of his read on that play, I think we can all agree that, as an RPO play, and if I recall correctly, like the offensive line was like man up, right? And so on an RPO play like that, it's one thing when they kind of have the RPO plays where they're kind of moving horizontally, kind of zoning it, and not necessarily moving that yard or two forward. To where you have to worry about having a penalty for an illegal man downfield. But in this case, they were moving forward there, so it quickens that play up. And for a pick play like that, running a rub route like that, like it puts the pressure on Patrick to make the proper read in that play, in that case, and to make the perfect pass. And he has to process it much faster than, me when I'm doing it in slow motion for us to watch it. And I think you could make that argument that you probably shouldn't have a play like that in your playbook. Like, you shouldn't be forcing your quarterback to make that kind of call on what the coverage is doing that quickly. That's just my take, and it's just one play. But, I think clearly, to me, offensively, as you said, and I think we see a contrast here, right? Like you talked about, every team that plays us, this is basically their Super Bowl. Green Bay got up for the Lions game too. I think they're going to continue to get up the rest of their schedule and make the playoffs. And that might surprise some people, but that's my take on what I've seen out of Green Bay now the last couple of weeks. I think you're looking at a young, hungry coaching staff playing the defending Super Bowl champions, and you're looking at the Chiefs having an old coaching staff that's having some struggles. They don't have the veteran coaching power on the offensive side, especially at the wide receiver coach position, not even necessarily at the running back position.
Give me a sec, I'll be back.
We're all back, but and so I think that there is an energy difference. I think the Chiefs are a team now, because they're constantly playing in the AFC Championship game. Andy Reid's not getting any younger. Steve Spagnuolo's not getting any younger. They have to kind of pace themselves throughout a season. And I don't think it would be unfair to say that they weren't putting in an A or even a B effort in their game plan on this one, whereas you saw the youth and energy and the hunger and determination of the Packers coaching staff to come out and win this game. So that's kind of my take on it. So my show me for this next game is, I kind of already alluded to it from the receivers part, but I got to see accountability. I have to see coaching accountability, starting with Andy to his coaches to the players, and that on the field by increased production, more discipline, playing more technically sound, more fundamentally sound, less penalties, less timely penalties, all of that. To me, that's what I need the coaching staff to show me in this next game. I need Spags to show me that whatever the Packers found on film to manipulate the coverage, that he's identified that and they're working on it. And so that's my show me. I don't know if Gooch will get back with us in time to give us his show me, but if he doesn't, we're going to move on to our offensive and defensive previews quickly of the Chiefs playing the Bills. So I'm going to jump in here in the chat really quick to see if we have anything. Aaron says he overslept and is trying to get some food before work, guys. So I'm sure if he can get that done, he'll jump on. Otherwise, Aaron's in the chat. Aaron, we're glad you're with us. We're also glad you got caught up on sleep, man. I know how much it sucks to get behind on it. Daryl says for Pop being ejected, it look at all game as Green Bay was trying to injure him. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the refs, and I think there's certainly a very apparent flavor out there, and we'll leave it at that. Maui says 1,000% outcoached. Yeah, I agree with that. I understand players have to play. players have to execute. But to me, it will always be a dual responsibility. Like, what the hell's the point of a coach if it's just simply the player has to execute? The player has to execute. You have no reason for a coach if it's only about the player executing. Right? Like, it's like having a teacher, right? You can't just blame it on a kid if they don't get something. Like, at some point, you have to be a good enough teacher to figure out a way to help this kid understand whatever they're missing. And you got to hold them to a higher standard and help them hold themselves to a higher standard. So to me, it will always be a dual thing of it is the coach's responsibility and the player's responsibility. And as far as the player is giving max effort, to the best of their ability, that the coach still has to be the one who holds them responsible, holds them to a high standard, and helps them figure out what they are missing. Yeah, Daryl, I don't think we blame them at all. Yeah, I don't think they're. Aaron says, yeah, Daryl, I was noticing them going for the knees and whatnot. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I kind of talked about this, I think, on Dan's show last night, right? Kind of the irony of Trevor Lawrence getting an ankle injury. We were talking about should Trevor Lawrence play this next game, and it's kind of like, well, look what the Jags, were doing against Mahomes with his injury, trying to twist it, trying to land on it more, trying to injure it worse than it was. Like, that would be ironic, karma, whatever you want to call it. That's a fair point too, Maui. Spags really kind of went. You could say he kind of went vanilla in this game, and maybe I don't know. If Gooch wants to jump in here when he can, maybe it's possible that because this was a non-conference game, they were willing to put more effort into planning for the Bills game, expecting that to be a more important game moving forward. Like, it's maybe they just overlooked Green Bay. I don't know how you could after the Lions game, but maybe they did. We don't really know what happened. We just know that whatever happened didn't work. Maui says, show me Chris Jones wanting to be defensive player of the year. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I said something right according to Aaron. And Aaron says that Maui is 100% right as well on Chris Jones. Aaron says he thinks he gave up on getting that. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it kind of seems like it. Maybe he's not exactly in tip-top shape either, since he held out. Because generally when that happens, players don't come back in shape. Anyway, offensive preview. Where do you think we might have a disadvantage against their defense? I think at this point, Von Miller is playing so clearly on the edges. I think Andy is going to have to help out the offensive tackles like he helped out Orlando Brown Jr. last year and Andrew Wiley. With Von Miller playing in this game, I think that's a clear disadvantage against their defense. And then, for any of the Bills' secondary issues, our wide receivers, like, we got to see them continuing to grow in this game. It's going to be important for us for that to happen here. Aaron says football shape anyway for Chris Jones. I'm just going to keep moving on here. When Gooch jumps in or can jump back in, he can answer whatever questions were on here. You guys can go ahead and leave your own thoughts and comments, answers to these questions in the chat. Where do you think we may have an advantage against their defense? Well, I still think that we have an advantage with Travis. I don't know what they're going to do. Some teams have defended him well, but I still think it's an advantage because without Matt Milano, right? I think Matt Milano is still out, right? I think that gives you a greater advantage than playing the Bills with Matt Milano. So I think that's an area of an advantage there. And we'll see what the wide receiver room looks like, what Andy has in store for that. But to me, that's where the advantage is going to be is going up against the linebackers. Who has the overall advantage in this matchup? Our offense or their defense? I'd really be interested in what Gooch had to say, what Aaron had to say in this one, because I think it's going to be really close to a toss-up. It really comes down to me to what Andy does with the receiving core this week, and what the play design looks like. So, to me, that's kind of the key for who has the advantage in this matchup. I'll still lean Kansas City, but it's kind of an incomplete for me on that one. Again, what's the key to victory against their defense? It's gotta be getting guys open in space. It's gotta be helping the offensive tackles out in this game. You do those things, and I think you're in great position on offense to secure a victory. And I'll leave it at that for that part of it. The defensive preview for the Chiefs playing the Bills. Where do I think we might have a disadvantage against their offense? Kind of the same answer, linebacker crew, right? There's a good possibility Drew Tranquil won't be back. Maybe Nick Bolton will be, but will he be rusty? Is he going to be 100%? No Brian Cook is a huge loss for this defense, in my opinion. The Bills have they have a legit tight end. Josh Allen is still their running game, but James Cook has looked pretty good in some games. To me, it really comes down to Josh Allen. And I think that's the disadvantage in this game is Josh Allen scrambling, Josh Allen leaving the pocket and scrambling or making throws outside of the pocket on the run. I think that's our disadvantage against their offense. Where do I think we may have an advantage against their offense? I think that part of it is just how much our defense has improved. And to me, I think that's would be a more surprising aspect to them. Spags has now had a week or will have had a week to adjust to no Brian Cook and, increase snaps from Jack Cochran. So it'll be interesting to see what we do on defense, but I have to think that you're not going to see a repeat of what our defense looked like against the Packers. So, I think our secondary is probably the big answer there. I think it's a great advantage because we have the cornerback depth to where you can bracket Stephon Diggs. We have shut down number one wide receivers all season. And, I think you're in a better place there when you know that Josh Allen is going to have to trust a different weapon or he's going to be taken off, and you can kind of plan for that. Who has the overall advantage in this matchup, our defense or their Offense, again, I think that's another one um, that you could probably go either way. I think the offense has looked better since they moved on from Ken Dorsey. Our defense, we're still gonna have some question marks. We got to see what the defense can look like with no Drew Tranquil. What I'm expecting, he could possibly play, but I'm expecting no Drew Tranquil, no Brian Cook in this game. Um, the defensive line has to do a lot better. So, who has the overall advantage? I still got to go with the Bills because as much as I make fun of Josh Allen and as much as he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's just so tough with his scrambling ability and how hard he is to take down. And his ability still, when he breaks the pocket, he doesn't have to scramble. He can still find the open receiver very similar to the way Mahomes does. He just has he's like, when he scrambles, he's like Derrick Henry scrambling, running over guys. Whereas, Patrick just has that little extra gear where he runs away from guys and gets, to the sideline. So I would have to say that their offense has the advantage of that matchup. Gooch, are you back with us here?
I am, and I agree. And I think the hardest part where they have our defense at a disadvantage is Josh Allen. Where we have the advantage is our secondary because we usually don't have a number two that can cover people like Gabe Davis and stuff like that. I think we actually have the corners and safeties to do all that. I do give the edge to their offense just because of Josh, because you can cover everything else. And then when Josh takes off, I agree, he's like a mini Henry. I think as far as our offense versus their defense, technically on paper, we should have the advantage because they're missing some serious pieces. But I think it's a push across the board. I think it's just going to be an evenly matched, close game, and where I don't think anybody has the real advantage. I think what's going to show up is if our defense can make plays and keep our offense in the game, we have a real good chance of winning.
And what's your key or keys to victory against their offense? So what's the keys for our defense to win this game? What do we need to see from our defense in order for us to win this game?
I think they're going to come out and Diggs is going to want a ball. So you need to keep Diggs under wraps. You're going to have to run a spy to keep an eye on Josh Allen, but your spy is going to have to be somebody that can not only get to the edges, but is a sure tackler because Josh is notorious for making the first guy miss. If you can do that, I mean, Gabe Davis makes catches, but he's not reliable as a number two. But if you can have somebody that's tight on him like McDuffie, they can kind of keep him under wraps, and we keep an eye on Josh and don't let him break us with the runs, we should be in good shape. Oh,
yeah. There's nothing worse than the runs.
And the offense actually put points on the board. Touchdowns, not field goals.
Yeah, I think you hit it right. Hit the nail right on the head there. I think it comes down to the ability to spy Josh Allen. I would kind of wonder if Brian Cook hadn't gotten injured, would we have seen either he or Justin Reed be that guy? Just put him in the box and but yeah, it should be interesting. We've done really well on locking down like top-notch number one wide receivers. So in a way, I almost want to say, I almost want to take it for granted that we're taking away Stephon Diggs. But at the same time, because Josh has that kind of Patrick ability to extend a play, it makes it a lot harder to bracket a guy like that. But yeah, I really think it comes down to our ability to, one, pressure Josh Allen, two, spy him and bring him down, because that's always the hardest part. It's not even necessarily getting the pressure and getting to him. It's bringing him down once you get to him and not letting him make you miss. Yeah. I think this is probably kind of a no-brainer here, Gooch. But who has the special teams advantage in this game?
Can I say nobody? Can I just say nobody in the other one?
Do you really believe that?
No, for all intents and purposes, we should have it with Tobe, but I really think the Bills have. Well, I take that back. If we're including the kicking as a special teams, which I always forget, then the special team advantage goes to us because Butker is perfect on the season, and Tommy can still make really good punts.
Yeah, like I said, outside of kick return coverage against the Packers, special teams was basically aces all across the board last week. I think without a doubt, Harrison Butker is the best kicker in the NFL. Tommy Townsend, everyone knows that he's got the boot. Kick returns and punt returns are a little questionable at times. Richie James, looked pretty good. Coverage is sometimes questionable as well. I still think I would give the Chiefs the edge, but it's not something I'm going to argue about. So let's hit our last question as far as previewing this game, Gooch, and that's who you got in this game and why. You got the Chiefs or you got the Bills?
Who do I got? Man, it's tough. Do I say I got my Chiefs, or do I say I got the hated Bills? It's tough. I've got the Chiefs winning 24-21. And because for at least 5 minutes, we pull our heads out of our butts, and then Butker kicks a game-winning field goal. Wait, is it here? It's an Arrowhead? Yeah. That's what I'd use. That's what I'd use. I think we play. I think it's tight. I think it's close. I think we start fast because Andy and everybody's pointing out we need to start fast. I think we start fast. I think we have a little lull in the middle. I think we turn it on near the end, and then we kick a field goal to walk out to win. That's what I think.
Oh, I guess I got to answer this one now, huh? Yeah,
you pick them Bills.
The funny thing is, like, the Bills usually have our number in the regular season, and then we beat them in the playoffs. I mean, it's quite questionable whether they're even going to make the playoffs for this one, right? So, I mean, if you're Andy and you do hold back,
the issue is that if they win, they technically can still make the playoffs. So you really don't want to put this where they can get confidence on a win streak and then end up where y'all playing each other in the playoffs, and this be the year you don't get them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you should just put the nail in the coffin and end it. I think it's going to be close, but I think we killed the playoff hopes for the Bills this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is for me is, like, there's question marks there, right? We don't know if Drew's going to be back. We don't know if Bolton will be back, and if he is, if he'll be rusty. Um, like it's hard to know what Bills offense is going to show up. It's hard to know what Kansas City offense is going to show up. So it's almost like a toss up in this game. And like in the past, you could say, well, the Chiefs have Andy and Pat, so advantage Chiefs, but we haven't exactly been seeing the best coaching out of this team this year. We haven't necessarily been seeing the best Patrick Mahomes this year, and we certainly haven't been seeing the best play calling or wide receiver play this year. So that's kind of where, to me, where I kind of struggle with this game. But I'm kind of leaning the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be maybe a 4-point game. It's just, is it going to be a really low scoring 4-point game, or is it going to be like an offensive explosion and be like 33-29? I don't know. I'm going to take the Chiefs, but I still think this game could be a toss up. I don't think it's going to be, when the Bills have played us in the past, it's kind of in the regular season anyway. They've kind of been fairly sound defeats. And I don't think that either way that's going to be the case in this game. I don't think the Bills are beating us like by 18 points or whatever they did, the last couple regular season games that we played them. Aaron says that we get up for this game. It'll probably be close though. He's got to go with you, Gooch, so I'm going to ban him from the channel. And the Chiefs win with a field goal and win by 1 or 2. Well, I said that, 4 points. He's going 27-25.
It's such an odd number, too, 25. It's just like, it's just odd.
Yeah, 27-25. Let's see. How do you get to? You could have what? 6 field goals. You could have 2 touchdowns and 2 touchdowns, a safety. Three field goals. I don't know. Getting to 27 and 20. 27 wouldn't be that hard. Just 4 touchdowns and you miss one PAT. I know, Aaron. It doesn't really matter. But yeah. We've hit our review of the Packers game and our preview of the Bills game. Now it's completely open to you guys. You guys have any more questions, any comments? Gucci, have any other area? Anything else in the NFL? I know that you're excited about Alabama beating Georgia, and then the college football committee screwing Georgia from being in the playoffs and beating Alabama, which they definitely would have done if they played again. But anything else you want to talk about college, NFL, Gooch? Anyone in the chat? Any questions or comments you guys have for those who are still with us? We appreciate you guys. Yes, 100%. Chocolate shakes with brownies are the best. Aaron says with miss extra points. He's looking for Tyler Bass to have a crap day. Hey, I'll take it. I won't argue with that. Yeah. Aaron, you have anything you want to add? Gooch, you have anything you want to add? Chat, you have anything you want to add? This is basically probably last call here, guys. Otherwise, we'll start wrapping up the show. Aaron agrees.
I like chocolate and brownies in the shake. Sometimes you can't go wrong with a little thick vanilla with some chocolate mixed in, like cookie dough or whatever. And it's just like that's fire too. Like, but don't get me wrong, man. The chocolate extreme fudge brownie thing from Dairy Queen, it makes a fat kid smile. You know what I'm saying?
Well, as long as we're talking about shakes and not euphemisms here, I think my favorites would be.
Hold on, euphemisms. Hold on, we gonna take this after dark. Okay.
I said as long as we're actually talking about shakes. Like my top 3 shakes would be, well, I take that back. Top 4 shakes, because my favorite ice cream is actually lemon. So lemon shakes.
Pistachio, isn't it?
What's that? I'm not a pistachio fan.
Okay.
No. Lemon shakes are my favorite. Then probably fudge brownie one that she's talking about there. Third would probably be, it would be close. It would be a really close, maybe a tie between Oreo shake and like a Reese's shake.
Shakes from the right place are fantastic, bro.
And then after that, man, I mean, you could even chocolate chip cookie dough shakes and like mint chocolate shakes. I think that's what is that like 7?
Yeah, you can tell past 4, brother. Like
you can tell I'm a fat kid, right? I have a top 10 shake list. That's
my father's was mint chocolate chip for sure. And that's pretty good. Like I usually get one just because after he passed, like I like, sometimes just sit with one. Chocolate chip cookie dough's good, but it wouldn't be high up on my top 10. Strawberry would be good. Chocolate, apparently. Man, you had so many. It's just like you took a lot of them that were actually good. I couldn't do lemon. Just plain lemon couldn't hit me. It couldn't do but you know what? Key lime pie is a really good shake.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that one.
I like shakes with arsenic because that's how Liz makes them. Hey, buddy.
I would say, because I gave 7, right? So I might as well just make it 10.
The brownie one is fat too. Like the chocolate brownie, I was telling about that because like that's crazy good. Like that speaks to my inner fat kid, bro.
Yeah, I would probably go my number 8. I would probably go like butter pecan. 9. I'd probably just go strawberry. What would 10 be though, Gooch? 10. Man. Man, I don't know. I'm sure I could get to 10 though, right? And that would be the height of like I swear every shake that I give, you guys know I weigh an extra 25 pounds like from every shake I give. Aaron says chocolate devotion from Cold Stone is probably my favorite, but my go-to has to be mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip's a classic. Mint chocolate chip's a classic. Man, if we're just doing that, like, I don't know, we're talking shakes, but then I have to go into like just overall ice cream. Like Cherry's Jubilee is a good one. Mint chocolate chip's a good one. You lost me on butter pecan. I was just like, blah. You're gonna laugh at this, but for some reason I like rainbow sherbet.
All right, so
before you get into that,
I just want to ask, what's the opposite then? Like, what's the blackest thing I could say as far as a shake flavor?
Red Kool-Aid.
That's not a shake. That's not a shake flavor though.
I don't know. Hang on.
Gooch, you're muted. Maybe he wants to be.
I know.
Aaron, I'm not familiar with chocolate devotion, so you'll have to tell me what that one is. But I would think that was like what butter pecan was like the 8th or 9th flavor I gave. 8th flavor, strawberry. Just because sometimes strawberry, just like a strawberry, is good. Man, I don't know. I'm sure I'm forgetting something that's probably better.
Actually, the blankest, the opposite would be great value French vanilla. That'd probably be the blackest thing you get. And I want to say that because Aaron said that might have been the whitest thing you ever said. I wanted to say that, but then I was afraid that somebody would be, I was afraid somebody would be like, oh, look at Gooch making it racial, blah, 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 blah. So Aaron saying it makes it easy because now it's white on white crime and it doesn't seem as bad. I just have to second it.
I think I have a banner for this. Let's see. Nope. I deleted it. You're so lucky. So you're saying the blackest thing I could have said was a great value French vanilla shake.
No, I was just saying ice cream because there's a lot of bland people out there, and the great value is it. They actually had it. Oh, I'm going so far. I actually have a picture of it that I'm going to send to you personally. Walmart put out a great value ice cream, and the title of it was That Green Nut.
Here, I got one. Since we're going here, I got one. How about a Smith's Malt Liquor Shake?
Oh, Smith's Malt Liquor? Hell yeah, buddy.
But you're probably putting in great value French vanilla, right?
Oh, but you know what? Okay, so the blackest thing you probably do would be root beer floats. Because we used to do those at home. It was just, A&W, not A&W,
Right.
but it was A&W root beer and vanilla ice cream. And so you got the best of both worlds. Man, I really want a root beer float now.
I mean, if we're counting those as shakes, yeah, man. I used to do root beer floats all the time back in the day, and nothing better. Well, that's not true because there's like four essential food groups from Schwann's, right? You got the bagel dogs, you got the mint bars, you got the root beer float bars, the barbecued wings, and the little mini pizzas. I'm like, what, 5 or 6? And then
Man, the mini pizzas and the freaking bagel dogs are fire, bro.
I got some stories that I'm not going to talk about on here from my high school days, but yeah, like I think that's about half a dozen things on there. But what's kind of funny is one of the things after Aaron said that, I didn't say what I was almost going to say, because I was going to say, sometimes just a plain French vanilla shake on its own just hits the spot. But I can't say that now. But yeah, I don't know. Like we are way
This just went from football to fat kid in 6 seconds, and I enjoy it.
You know what? Offensive line, defensive line, that's still talking football. What do you think those guys are? What do you guys think those guys are eating? They probably have to have like what, 10, 15,000 calories a day?
Oh, I'm sure they put down a lot for sure.
So maybe it's just me, Aaron, because Aaron says the ice cream just makes the root beer so much better. He says sometimes he doesn't even eat the ice cream. So here's
no crap, you wouldn't eat the ice cream because it eventually melts in the soda.
Well, that's kind of leading to what I was going to ask you guys, right? Maybe it's just me because I'm a little weird.
Hit us with it.
But when you do your root beer floats, do you leave them separate, or do you actually stir and mix them all up so it is basically like a shake? I think I know what Aaron's answer is based on what he just said here, but I'm interested. Like, do you guys mix it all together, or are you like, do you take a spoon and take some ice cream and get some root beer in with it? Are you drinking it and whatever happens, happens? Or are you just straight up mixing it all together and making it into like that shake?
Nah, I'm a spoon with the root beer and maybe a sip every now and then guy. I don't mix it up.
Aaron, oh, you're not here, but in the chat, Aaron, let us know your answer on this one. Like, my answer is it would kind of depend on the mood, right? And maybe towards the end, I might mix it all up, but it's different flavors. This is complete fat kid talk at this point. It's different flavors. Leaving it separately is a completely different flavor. Eating the ice cream with a spoon and getting the root beer on there is a completely different flavor. Mixing it all together is a completely different flavor. 3 different flavors depending on how you do it. So to me, I'd probably do a mix. I might drink a little bit of the root beer. I might spoon a little ice cream with the root beer. And then as I got towards the end, I might mix it all up. And then I have 3 different flavor throughout the whole, at different points. Kind of like a root beer float parfait that's nothing but root beer float.
I just really want a root beer float now.
Hannah, do you guys have root beer floats? I don't even know if they have root beer there, do they?
Bet you if they do, it's A&W.
Man, I don't think we ever got A&W. We didn't get name brand pop.
No, you got the vest or whatever that was. That was always
Like
the
best value. I don't know what it was. Walmart brand, Aldi brand, like whatever.
Back in the day, we used to get 3 liters. Remember the 3 liters?
Yep.
Oh yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Gooch is old. I am not, but I have an old person's memory. So that's why I can answer yes to that.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for. I think we've basically reached the end of this this show tonight, but I will say, Gooch, somebody has been bringing home the Oreo pie from Perkins.
Oh, I wonder if I've got the next few days off.
All right, here's Aaron. Here's Aaron's answer. He says, I'll probably have 2 or 3 bites of ice cream and root beer, but mostly let it melt into the root beer and drink it. Pour the rest of the ice cream into Liz's. Also, you just use the ice cream just a little bit, and then you're like, get it out of my cup. Doesn't sound like you like ice cream, or Aaron. It sounds like you just use a little bit of it. Oh, are you talking about the Oreo pie? Wow, that was a bad throw. Yeah, it's good. I hate to see how many calories are in it, though. Anything you get at Perkins, put it in the freezer, and it basically makes it taste like ice cream. That's my Perkins hack there. Even their muffins, you can take the muffins from Perkins, stick them in the freezer, and they don't freeze all the way. They mostly freeze, and then you can eat it, and it's kind of like eating pie instead of cakey cakey muffin there. Aaron says vanilla isn't my favorite. Yes, the Oreo pie.
Here's a hack for you. Get the lava cakes from Domino's and stick them in the freezer. They don't freeze, but when you bite into them after they get cold, it tastes like cookies and cream.
Thought you said not to eat anything from Domino's.
No, I said I don't eat anything from Domino's.
Yeah, that's the difference. Like every food place I worked at, I still ate there. I don't know.
If I could fix it, like obviously the stuff I fooled around and done, but like when I was at Sonic and I make these quesadillas, like oh, those are freaking good. I've had a deep fried hot dog at Sonic, but we don't do like if I can fool around and make something, I'll eat it. But most of the time I don't want to. I've made a quesadilla at Domino's, believe it or not, using the thin crust, which is actually pretty good. The only there, otherwise it'd be fire.
Yeah, I get that. That's kind of one of the fun places or fun things about working at places when you can take your own creative liberties with them. But like I used to when I worked at Pizza Ranch, I would get a what it was like a chicken, um, a buffalo chicken pizza, but I would have them top it like a chicken bacon ranch, right? So it was like the buffalo chicken seasoning and sauce on there, but then you had chicken and or you had your bacon and tomatoes, and then they put ranch on top of it, and I think I had them throw jalapenos on there, like one of my favorite pizzas of all time. But you can do that stuff when you work at a place and or when you build your own stuff. But yeah, I'm with you, Aaron. Vanilla isn't my favorite. But sometimes it is. Sometimes it is good to just like go back and just have some vanilla, but it's got to be the right vanilla. Um, because I like French vanilla. You get some that kind of taste marshmallowy. Uh, there's some vanillas out there that are just like plain. I hate like the straight up like white vanilla that has like the vanilla bean in it, unless it's like Oreo, like the cookies and cream. Like if it has the cookies and cream in there, it's fine. Otherwise, I don't really like the flavor of that vanilla and some of that stuff. I don't know if Oreo pie is the best. Aaron says Liz loves vanilla. Aaron, you might be the most vanilla guy I know. No, I'm kidding. That didn't sound the. You might be the whitest guy I know, Aaron. You can make your joke about my butter pecan, but that's kind of more being a mama's boy than anything. My mom's favorite ice cream when I was growing up was butter pecan. So sometimes butter pecan hits the spot. But if I had my choice, it would be either lemon or because there's a place that makes a great lemon shake. Lemon was always my favorite ice cream flavor, but chocolate fudge brownie is right there too. Aaron says the French silk pie. Aaron, are we talking French silk pie in general, or are we talking Perkins French silk pie? I know a lady who makes homemade French silk pie, and it is absolutely amazing. So I don't know if we just got into a which pie in general is the best or which Perkins pie is the best. I don't know. And I don't even know what the kids are saying. They're chattering about something. Hannah says chocolate devotion. Oreo pie is the best. I think you need to get back to work. Um, assuming this is Gooch, Perkins pies are usually really good. Aaron says French silk is his
It was
favorite.
me. That's what, like I was saying, like the chocolate devotion thing. Like I hear her and Aaron talking about it. Like I gotta have a taste for all that chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Like I talked about the chocolate extreme brownie thing. Like I couldn't get that every time. Like I gotta have a taste for it. But an Oreo shake, Oreo pie, like those kind of things, like yeah, because it's like the perfect mix of like chocolate and vanilla and cookie bits and all that. And Stop talking about shakes and pies because my fat kid is like, we're going to go get one. Like, stuff is still open. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what's going to be open this late at night that would have any of that stuff, but I don't know.
I'll go get a Snickers ice cream bar from the gas station or something. Man. I swear.
Make your own stuff.
Why not? I've got a Ninja. I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Walmart and get some great value ice cream, and yeah, I bet he does. And get some candy. Oh, what you should do, Gooch, is have you had a deep fried Snickers yet?
I have not, because I felt like if I got one and I couldn't get one on the regular, I would be really mad. But I heard they're really good. Are they? You've had one, haven't you?
I got one at the Kansas State Fair this year, and
In Hutchinson?
what's that? Yeah,
In Hutchinson?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you went, bro. I was there.
I wasn't there for myself. I was there driving like a 5th grade class or something. I think it was. So we were there for like part of a day. But
So you were taking the animals to the fair. I get it.
well, one of the girls in the class was like there competing for horse stuff. So I think she paid for the class to get in and come like watch her and stuff. So, but yeah, so I got one there because I kept hearing about them. Like 10 years ago at the Mississippi State Fair, I got a deep fried Oreo, and those are absolutely amazing. So I had to try the deep fried Snickers. It was a little bit sweet for me, but it's probably also been a while since I had a Snickers, sadly enough. But yeah, deep fry a Snickers there and make a shake out of that. Oh, I bet that would be good.
Sounds like it'll be fire, bro.
See, right now I'm channeling when my wife would be pregnant, I would late at night I start talking about food to give her these cravings and just kind of laugh about it. It's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I'm not calling Gooch a pregnant woman. I'm just saying. It's kind of a game.
Well, I thought you were saying that because Hannah was still in the chat, and I was going to ask, are we up to number 11?
Nope, we are done. She cannot have any more.
See, you're thinking medically, but if God wills it, it will happen. So
Yeah, I mean,
human body is.
There's a small % chance, but yeah. I should have been doing this so people could watch the video the whole time. I hope you guys appreciate this background in honor of playing the Bills this week. It's too bad we didn't get any Bills fans in the chat.
This stream would be 3.5 to 4 hours long because we'd be battling them.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron, is it just plain vanilla for Liz, or like I can understand if you like vanilla because you like topping, putting your own toppings on there, right? Like if you get vanilla and you crunch up some Oreos, throw some M&Ms, and that canned fudge that you heat up in the microwave, you start pouring all the toppings on there, I would understand why you might just want to go with vanilla. But are we talking just like plain vanilla every time? He might not even still be there. He's got to get ready for work. I would say, Hannah, your favorite ice cream probably is like something that has like mocha, some kind of coffee flavored. No? I think so. I think anything coffee. I don't even know if she's still there. She better be closing that store down and getting home. You guys got to tell me what all is in chocolate devotion.
I can't tell you because I've never eaten. I mean, Cold Stone Creamery. I couldn't tell you what's in it.
I don't know if Aaron's still here or not.
Oh wait, hang
Man,
on.
I haven't eaten at one in 10 years, 11 years, 10 years. I guess I can Google it. Okay, let's see. Oh, Gooch, do not look at this, brother. Oh my goodness.
Can you look at that? Can you believe what's in that? Like that's just
Well, for those of you who have just started joining us, we are looking at food porn right now. That looks amazing. Uh-oh. Those stupid cookies. Get off of there. So chocolate ice cream with chocolate chips, brownie, and fudge. Get in my belly. That looks
what I'm
amazing.
saying.
And a waffle cone bowl that's dipped in chocolate.
And this is why I have a trainer. This is why.
Oh man. Yeah, I got to figure out a way to get one of these. Aaron says, Gooch, sometimes just plain, but she does have the fudge or the chocolate shell type stuff, some caramel. You guys say caramel or caramel? How do you guys pronounce it? Here or there? Yeah, Aaron, we're looking at it right now. You get a quart of this. Do you get any of these waffle bowls, Aaron? This looks amazing. Like, do they give you like a shot of insulin with it? How does this work? So, Gooch, Aaron, Knight, good to see you in here, Knight. Hannah, I don't know if you're still in here or not. This would be like, I had a friend in Mississippi. His name's Bubba. I know how cliche that is. But one time in class, somebody brought something really sugary looking like this. And here's what he said. And I'm going to say it about this. He said something like, this looks like diabetes threw up all over this. And that's what this looks like in a good way. Sorry if I offend anybody who's diabetic.
Man, let me tell you, that right there is amazing. And I say caramel.
Okay.
I don't know who says caramel. I mean,
Rich White Suburbanites. I don't know. Listen, I was certified black when I worked at Clark's Bostonian Shoe Outlet in Pearl, Mississippi, by all the other employees there. They certified me as black, so I apparently had a very black childhood. At least by the younger generation.
So now I have to put in double time with my trainer tomorrow before work and after work because I'm going to have to get me one of those chocolate devotions. Maybe I'll eat one while I'm putting some shows together. Let you guys see it live on camera. Oh, we could have Aaron do that because he usually gets a quart of it. He could we could hold an ice cream social on
You know, Aaron, Liz was talking about having us all over around the campfire or whatever. What if we all just had one of these bowls of these chocolate dipped waffle bowls of chocolate devotion. Just throwing that out there.
No,
That would
it's a good idea.
Gooch could come pick me up in his private plane and fly me over. Hannah has always wanted to go skydiving. Gooch, can we skydive out of your private plane?
Well, we'll let Liz go first as long as I get to push her.
Oh man, when she sends out your hat, it's gonna have a bomb in that box.
I know.
Hey, Aaron says it's good by him, Gooch. I don't know if
I may or may not deserve it. It's the judge and jury's still out.
I don't know if he's talking about doing the chocolate devotion bowls around the fire pit, or if he's talking about you pushing Liz out of the plane.
Now, I'm going to speak here. And for Aaron, it would be out loud, it would be the chocolate devotion bowls around the fire. Secretly, he means both. No, she would never make it that obvious. What she'd do is she'd line some strychnine or something into the hat brim, something that I'd have to touch over and over again, and that's how she'd get rid of me. So that it happened when I was at home or on a plane or in another state, and so she'd be like, "Man, what happened to Gooch, my brother?" While she's laughing on the inside.
Lead the search party.
Right. We know you were talking about chocolate devotion, Aaron. Wink, wink. Don't worry, brother.
All the while, Gooch is
Night,
buried
what's up,
under her flower bed.
Next to her perennials or perenniums or whatever they're called. What's
Definitely
up,
not that. Definitely not that. Perennials was probably right on. Hey, Knight, we're glad you're with us. We're basically at the end here. We've just been fat kidding it up after giving our week 13 review and week 14 preview, talking about shake flavors. If you want to let us know your favorite flavor of shakes, and then Aaron brought us into chocolate devotion, and Hannah was talking about Oreo pie, and
then we started giving our Keys gave us top 10 and favorite shake flavors, and it's been a usual Back Talk Bros stream where we hit 10 different topics on top of football. Good times. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't think I told you guys this story. I told Dan last night, though. So last Saturday, we were at this, I forget, it's called like Holiday Extravaganza or something. It's like a fundraiser event for the local first responders, firefighters, EMS, or people and the police. And so this thing starts at like 5 p.m. and they have like dueling pianos there, and it's basically the whole night is basically dueling pianos and alcohol, right? And we're at this table. The guy at the table next to us was probably completely crocked at like 7 p.m. Like we're talking to the point that he was acting like a 14-year-old boy in high school. They were doing like raffles, and one of the winning numbers was like 269. He's like, 69, 69, like that by like 2 hours into this thing. And he was like basically humping. He was like basically humping some guy's guts. But it was funny because like we left at like 10:30. This thing was going on till like 11. And for most of the night, there were a couple cops like stationed like in the foyer area, right? And they moved outside in front of the front entrance as the night got later and later. And I told my wife, I'm like, man, I bet they're out there watching people to see who they need to pull over here in a few minutes, you know. And we're walking out, and we walk past the group of cops that's out there, and there's a group in front of us that are drunk, and they're like walking to their cars. And as we pass the cops, the one cop turns to the other ones, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure they're walking home." And the other cops laugh, and I'm just like, Gooch, this might be surprising to you to see cops with a sense of humor like this. And it's like, so we laughed all the way to our vehicle because I wasn't expecting it, right? Like the implication is, yeah, we know these guys are drunk, but they're walking home. But maybe it had to be one of those things you had to be there to see, but I wasn't expecting these cops to make a joke like that. I'm sure they're walking home. Knight says death by chocolate shake from a little restaurant down in Sedalia. Okay. Death by chocolate. That sounds very promising, right, Gooch? I got to Google this. Death by chocolate. I don't know if I'm going to find it. Knight, what's in Death by Chocolate at this place? Hey, there's an ice cream that you can get at the store.
Like
All right,
they put shaved chocolate M&Ms and a brownie in it, and you gotta use a spoon because it's so thick it will clog up a straw.
I got to share this, Gooch, because this brand name is like, this is like straight up what black people would buy. The brand name is called Best Yet. That sounds like a good generic. Best Yet. Just what I found here Googling. So what all is in this thing? Listen, if it's got chocolate chips, if it's got fudge in it, if it's got brownies, I don't like. That's my love language. I'm not even gonna lie, guys. If it's got those three things in it, it doesn't even have to. If it's got brownies in it, it's already like it's doing the right thing. What does this say? This looks like a different brand. What's in here? Oh, look at all those flavors, Gooch. See, that's what I'm talking about. Chocolate fudge brownie.
You remember the name of it, Night? It might still be there.
Oh, we don't need to see. We don't want to see the calorie stuff. I don't see. Chocolate truffles, chocolate covered almonds. Does it have brownie bites in it? Oh, calorie stuff. I don't know what's going on now, but like oh, you put that on there. Shaved chocolate M&Ms and a brownie in it.
Hey Aaron, what was his eighth favorite shake that we ended up going over the age restriction?
What's that?
Aaron said we were doing well on being age restricted until your eighth favorite shake. So what was your eighth favorite shake?
I think the Oreo one, wasn't it, Aaron? And then Gooch started talking about mixing
Chocolate chips
chocolate
and a
and vanilla.
Yeah. Mugs up in Independence. Mugs, really? Why do I
20
think I
years
remember
ago.
that?
Well, see, now Knight's talking about holes in the wall. That's age restriction right there. Vanilla as the base ice cream. Man, I'm going to boo that. Butter. Oh. Because you guys called me white? That's
their
interesting.
own naturally carbonated. You know, there's a place in now that we're going to veer off topic a little bit again. Do you know that there's a place in New York, and I've actually had one, and it's fantastic. It's an old school restaurant, but they actually make their own Coca-Cola in the place. I mean, it's Coca-Cola, but it's like they make it the original way, which is really
With cocaine in it?
really good. Well, I mean, obviously not, but
Oh, you just got Dan Andrews' hopes up. That's interesting. Naturally carbonated root beer. Now, Aaron, let me know. Is this the whitest thing that Knight has ever said?
it's the whitest thing I have ever heard. Butterscotch pie. Now, I'm not trying to knock it because when it comes to grandmothers and their freaking baking skills, everybody's
Right.
grandma is usually pretty fire at that. But butterscotch, is that like the Werther's original stuff? Like, isn't that what butterscotch is? Like, I'm just throwing it out there, bro. I've never had a butterscotch pie. I'm sure it's fantastic though, just because a grandma made it. Like, I wouldn't trust nobody now, but and I can't knock it because like a lot of people I run into don't know what a sweet potato pie is, which my grandma used to make regularly, and it's freaking amazing. So I will never knock someone else's grandmother's pies, but butterscotch is kind of taking me somewhere else.
Yeah, I can't say that I've had one either. I'd probably try a bite.
See, Knight, that's what I'm talking about right there. Lost me on the butterscotch, brought me right back to the cinnamon rolls the size of a dinner plate. That's, that's oh, she makes sweet potato pie too? Yeah, man. A lot of people don't know about that. I actually was standing in line for Ma Dukes for Thanksgiving to get a ham, and I was talking about sweet potato pie, and a lot of people was like, I've never had that before. And I'm like, really? Like, it was amazing to me that a lot of people had it.
Oh, this isn't grandma's, but here. What happened to that? Oh, I gotta pull it out here. Yeah, I've never had butterscotch pie. Oh, come on, get off there, stupid pop-up.
Now, see, that looks like a pumpkin pie to me.
Yeah, my guess is it's probably pretty sweet and different though. Oh, now see, I can do well, this is this recipe, but I could do chopped cashews. That would be good. I would do that.
Which one
I
is
would do
better than pumpkin pie? I don't eat pumpkin pie because I don't like it, but I'll eat a sweet potato pie. You can make one sweet potato pie, and nobody else is going to get a slice. You feel what I'm saying? Like, but the chicken and dumplings thing, I'm back to that. My grandma used to make her own chicken and dumplings, and she would make the dumplings, of course, herself, and she'd cook the chicken and cut it up herself to put it in there and stuff like that. Did your grandma do that?
And the best way to eat pumpkin pie is like with a whole tub of Cool Whip. So you got to hide it in white. Aaron loves pumpkin pie.
Yeah, well, that figures. Nobody else caught the key. Said you had to hide it in white.
I'm 100%. I'm 100% serious. You get the What's the big tubs of Cool Whip? Well, the Great Value Walmart brand, whatever. Big tub of Cool Whip for one slice. Dump the whole slice of pie in there and eat the whole thing. That's how you got to eat pumpkin pie. Prove me wrong.
When he
Hey, you
probably
know what?
does.
You know what? A pumpkin pie shake would probably be interesting. That could be really interesting. Pumpkin pie lattes. Pumpkin spice lattes. Sorry. I'm assuming Knight is talking about the pumpkin pie shake idea. I think it would actually be pretty good. Well, there you go. Liz made Erin try her pumpkin spice latte.
She didn't make him. Night. She didn't make him. It's all right, brother. We understand.
Oh man, we went like the last 45 minutes just talking about shakes and pies now.
Called it. Actually, Night called it.
No, seriously, I bet it would be good though. Maybe even the butterscotch pie as a shake would be good. Here's the key, right? And I think we can all agree on this since we're talking about our grandmother's cooking. We're talking about homemade pie crust. We're not talking about store-bought and crap. We are talking about homemade, 100% delicious, probably 15 pounds of margarine or lard or something in there in the pie crust. Like we're talking about homemade pie crust because if it's not homemade pie crust, I don't even think you can call it grandma's homemade pie. Maybe I'm alone on this one.
Grandma never used a store bought crust either. Night. My father didn't use store bought either. He baked all his stuff from scratch: peach cobblers, apple pies, cakes, sweet potato pies. All that stuff was from scratch. My mom used to hate it. She loved his desserts, but every time he'd be in the kitchen baking, like it looked like World War III hit it. And so then when he'd get done and he'd look at my mom and he'd go, "You got this covered, baby? I got to go take a shower," or something like that. And so my mom would end up cleaning the kitchen. But
Yeah, the first thing when we got married, like the first thing I did is I pushed Hannah into my grandma's kitchen. I'm like, don't come out until you can make her pie. And I'm barely joking on that. You can ask her. Like that was one of the first things. It's like, you get in here and you learn how to make this lady's pie crust. Like you need to know how to make it. Like this is an essential for this marriage to succeed, that you know how to make homemade pie crust, because too many people today think you just go buy it at Walmart. So, anyone out there who is a bachelor or engaged, if you want to know the secret to a successful marriage, is have your grandma show that special lady how to make pie crust. And I know there's one big problem for those of us. That's a lie. That's not a lie. I definitely pushed you in that kitchen and told you you couldn't come out until you could make my grandma's pie crust.
for the record, Keys is not misogynistic, for all of you knowing that he has a lot of children and now he's saying he pushed his wife in his grandma's kitchen, thinking that he had her barefoot and pregnant because that's a woman's place, was at home or in the kitchen. Keys does not think like that. We just want to put that
No.
out there. Please don't read between the lines. We are a family, all of us, so this is just fun. Hi, Anna.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Like, I think there were two things. My grandmother's pie crust and my grandmother, maybe her egg noodles. I'm not even sure now. Definitely the pie crust though. It was one of those things where it's like, I don't think it took that much convincing just because the pie crust itself was delicious, right? Like, she had my grandma's pie crust, so she knew, like, like, okay, so she's trying to take credit of her doing it on her own. I see what's going on here. That's not how it happened. So,
All right, Aaron. See you, brother.
yeah, Aaron, I'm gonna have to go too. My battery is like, it's getting ready to die on me. But yeah, that's definitely not how it happened. From my recollection. But yeah, I definitely, what Gooch said is correct.
Rose
I didn't
colored
tell her
glasses, right, Hannah?
I didn't tell her that a kitchen is a woman's place. Both of my grandfathers were Navy cooks. They were cooks in submarines. My father was a cook. My father and grandfather cooked for college at some point. Every man in my family can cook, and we can cook well. So, but
But
you gotta know how to.
you have Hannah in the kitchen.
What are you trying to say, Gooch? She's the man in this relationship.
I did not say
Hannah,
that.
did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he said?
I did not. I did not say that. I quit. Oh man. Oh snap. Hold on. That means you're left with me. That could be dangerous on this channel. Thank you, Knight. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Force Hannah in the kitchen and your menfolk are the good cooks. Something's wrong there. Mm-hmm. Something's fishy in Denmark. I'm just saying. Oh man, this is amazing. This is amazing. These shows really do get better the longer we go because we fall off football and we just have a regular conversation. It's good stuff. We should do some of these more often. Like actually have one that's devoted to football, but then just have like a chat session. Stew. That just doesn't sound appetizing. Hannah Bear. Doesn't sound appetizing at all. Hey, wait a minute. No, that's not what I was. Look, I wasn't saying that. You have a good night too. Night. And Stevie's gone. Hannah must be home or getting close to being home. Got to get the kids together. So I'm going to end it. We appreciate y'all watching this content, whether religiously or in passing. Holidays are coming up. Make sure you tell somebody you love them. We appreciate y'all joining us tonight. We're going to do it again next week. Hopefully, all three of us will be here. And I have an Oreo shake from Hannah. The thicker, the better. And yeah, have a great night.